Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, Miss Simone.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I feel great. Today
Man, I
is
know that's right. One more day till Friday.
I was thinking about you this morning. I'm like, hallelujah. Yes.
Yes, one more day. Yo, why is it so cold outside?
Yeah, no, this is disrespectful.
It's
Is
freezing.
okay. I have two little heaters in my makeshift office downstairs. Your girl
That
is
ain't enough.
I'm like about to put my socks on too. I'm trying to keep it cool, but I'm cold.
Yo, I was freezing outside. Little toes was crunching up and everything. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Your morning walks sounded like a battle. I'm not even gonna
Yo,
I
it's
on the rock
terrible.
movie. You like, and you like drink the whole egg before you go.
No, I don't do all that. I don't do it. I just get out there and do it. Now, I I used to eat like a protein bar before I went out, depending on what I was going to do. But now being home, I'm eating a little better, so I don't even really need a protein bar. I got real food now.
Now I got real full.
Yeah, I'm eating real food, so I don't need a protein bar and the Gatorade. I haven't even really drank a Gatorade or a Powerade since I've been. Oh yeah, I know,
You know, I'm so happy.
I know.
That is yeah, whenever you see Miss Johnny with the power, that's how you know our girl's been working all day. Okay,
Working.
probably hasn't eaten a thing but a protein bar and keeps sipping on that. So if you ever see, please help her out.
You stupid.
Yogurt, get her a yogurt and chicken box.
You so stupid. You are crazy. Good morning, y'all. Good morning. Good morning, James. First, I think James been like the first comment like all day this week. Good morning, Hardcore. Good
Hardcore.
morning, Cam. Good morning, General, aka Ma. You need to get Meek on here so y'all can really be a squad. Good
Okay.
morning, Ari. I know I ain't for this winter either. Good morning, King. Look who here, y'all. Look who here.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Finally stop bluffing.
So happy.
Miss Simone, you know what's crazy?
What?
You've been to a couple of Thriving Thursdays.
Yeah.
Ain't said one word, and then now her first time busting out is on a success session. Yo, that's a beautiful thing.
I can do it. Okay, go big or go home.
Go big or go home. Y'all heard Miss Simone.
She's like, I gotta wait because I have something good to say. So that's when I will hear it.
Yeah, we're gonna need that, Miss Simone.
Yeah, I'm really
But
excited.
I'm excited today though. But you know what, y'all? We do have to we gotta send our love and thoughts to one of our own, Miss Asari. You guys probably know her by face. Y'all might not know her by name. I gotta try to find a picture, but unfortunately, her brother passed from Rona. Yeah. So we definitely gotta send her all our love and thoughts. Like, yeah, I was heartbroken over that. Like,
Oh my goodness.
you know who I'm talking about?
At first, I was like, this is, and then I'm like, wait, the PhD student, she works.
The PhD student. Yep, she used to come through the office all the time.
I love Asari. She's such a beautiful soul, so smart.
And just so sweet and caring and everything. Y'all will definitely know her by face. I gotta find a picture. But yeah, we definitely gotta make sure we send her our thoughts, love, and prayers.
Yeah, no, this time is no joke. It's really y'all. Please be safe, be careful, check on your loved ones, and do
Please
your
wash your hands.
please, yes, wash
Wash your hands. Yo,
Don't
I'm scared. What was people doing before? Y'all wasn't washing your hands before?
don't
No, that's for real. people used to laugh at me because I keep gloves in my car to pump gas and do stuff like that. I never like that's just been me for years. Ain't nobody laughing at me now. Ain't nobody laughing at me now.
Should always be cautious. You're surprised who don't wash their hands.
Yeah.
That's just nasty.
Definitely.
But you know what? McDonald's ingrained that in me. Working at McDonald's is really what kind of did that to me, like washing my hands, cleanliness, and all that type of stuff. Even like in my refrigerator, first in, first out.
That's great.
That is actually great.
McDonald's actually offering the health department protocol. Okay.
Yeah. Yo, you had to be on point with stuff, yo. That's why they were sending me to different stores to help people get on point. Like, oh no. Like, why y'all got this April bacon right here when we still got March bacon?
We want the March bacon. Oh no, the April. What month is it? What time?
No, we're going to use that March, sweetie. We ain't throwing nothing away. Waste zero.
It's April 15th is done. April 16th.
Yo.
I want the April bacon.
Y'all are crazy. Mom said, I'm scared because nobody washed their hands now. Man, I'm scared too. It's crazy. Good morning, Marcus Allen.
Good morning. And don't be sharing them blunts, y'all. That is like that's like key. Seriously, like better. You know to wash your hands, you know, but it's the things that you don't even think about. Don't be out here kissing people and stuff. You need to be at home. Wait till this is calmed down.
Exactly. And if you broke, don't be on no blunts or kissing. Please. Be here, getting your money up. Do that first. I ain't messing with y'all. It's almost Friday. I'm about to be off.
Look.
All right. Let's get into this.
Yeah, what we doing today, Miss Simone? Miss Q.
Tell the people what we're talking about today.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about anxiety, a form of mental health. Yeah. So we're going to have a play on hardcore session.
Like that. The dynamic duo.
I love it.
So I'm going to start off by giving you the definition. Anxiety is a mental health disorder characterized by fears and worries. It could be out of proportion stress. You could be overthinking, restlessness, insomnia. You could get nauseous, nervousness. You get tense, have panic attacks, a sense of impending danger, and loss of concentration. So, anxiety leads to depression. Stressful life experiences can increase the risk of anxiety, and I think living in Baltimore, you know, poverty, death everywhere. You could be scared. You don't know what's going to happen to you when you walk out your door. You see it on the news every day. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's it's so relevant right now with young people. So, and I'm not gonna say that I don't understand it because I understand it, but it's just like, I don't know. Can you talk to some people, especially like people who might be like a little older like myself and might be tasked with, you know, mentoring people? Like, how do you think we can like best like support people who are really living in that world every single day and like really can't find a way out? Because like that frustrates me a lot.
Well, what I do is you gotta talk to people. Like, people are hard on themselves. Like every day a child might be upset because they're doing bad in school or they don't have what this person has. Like they're upset about that. I feel like people have a lot of things that they want to get done, and like you're anxious to get these things done, but you can't get them done right now. So you can get them to accomplish at least one thing a day. Like I tell this to my partner and stuff, like do one thing a day. You have all these things that you need to do. You're trying to do all of them at once. You can't do that. That's stressing yourself out. You won't go crazy. You getting upset. You can't do that. You have to accomplish one thing a day, whether it's something small. You gotta clean your house, you gotta pay your bill, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta get this paper done, you gotta write this. Do one thing a day. Write your paper today, clean tomorrow, or clean today, write your paper tomorrow, get this paid for, do this and that. Don't try to get it done all at once. Get them to avoid procrastination. A lot of people try to procrastinate and don't get anything done. I feel like having them practice mindfulness, and that's focusing on what's happening with you right now, your feelings and your thoughts. There's also, yes. Simone?
Oh, sorry. I'm just agreeing with what you're saying.
I know. She over here preaching, ain't she, Miss Simone? Dropping all the jewels.
Go ahead.
Okay. There's visualization techniques where, though, it's like, when people say go to your happy place, basically that, but I don't think like go to your happy place. Imagine something that you would like in this moment, or you would like to be doing. Don't always imagine a beach or a pond or a big house. Like imagine what social setting you would like to be in. So have that. Listen to calm music, not hip hop, rap, NBA Youngboy. You cannot relate to him. Listen to instrumentals, please.
Yes.
A lot of the youth drink a lot of soda. That should be cut. Caffeine is not good for you, and definitely not good for your anxiety.
You sound like a public health major.
I'm like, did you take a class? You've been in Bloomberg taking class.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like she sounds straight like a public health major. Like, what you majoring in?
You have been holding out on us. This is amazing.
Definitely been holding out. And a lot of people don't even take the time to relate like those type of mental health things with diet, food, and stuff like that. So the fact that you even brought up like what you're consuming says a lot about your knowledge about this. And y'all, I hope y'all are taking notes. I'm not saying don't drink no soda now, because I love me a good Pepsi every 3 or 4 years.
Well, see, that's fine. But you gotta monitor your intake. Like you want to drink a soda with every meal, and then you out here with a chicken box and all this grease and stuff.
I can't even talk. I can't even act like I ain't just stopped eating chicken boxes every day. That's one thing, like I always had good exercise habits and stuff like that, but my exercise habits do not match my eating.
Match it in.
They don't.
Gotta balance it. It's one thing a day.
Boss said drink water. Good morning, Lene.
You touched on so many good things though, because I'm like, that mindfulness is so key. I remember the first I heard mindfulness, I'm like, what kind of meditation, temple stuff is this? I'm not gonna lie.
That's what I thought it was.
I'm like, what does that mean? Are you supposed to be in wrap cloth and going like this? Come on, give it a chance. Stop. And it really is just trying to be present in the moment. Like ground yourself. Can you talk more about that?
Mindfulness?
Yeah, and like your thoughts, and like you said, make it real.
Okay. So practicing mindfulness, like thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations. So the now. You gotta feel what's going on. Like it's really, I feel like this is something that you really do if you're having a panic attack or something. You try to ground yourself, come back to reality, get out your head. So, and then now you're sitting here or you're standing wherever, be calm. How are you feeling? Why do you feel this way? What can you do to take this feeling away? When I practice mindfulness, I don't do it a lot. I don't. I'm not gonna. But you have to, because if you have social anxiety like I do, like I getting on this live.
Miss Simone, is her internet in the ghetto? Was it just me?
Everyone. I was sitting here, I was like, okay, I'm nervous, but I got this. I can. It froze.
You in the ghetto. You in the all that great knowledge out the window.
Yo. You have got to start over because I know you were saying really, really good. And we couldn't hear anything.
No, dang, y'all. We sorry, y'all. We are so sorry. We are so sorry, y'all.
I can't sit like that.
Where your bars? Where your bars? How many bars?
Let me see. I have 3.
Jeez, we missing one.
Right?
We need all of that because we know it was good because you started off amazing. We need all of that back, please.
I don't even know where I started.
It was
like, talking about the mindfulness, and calming yourself down, and like you were having a transparent moment where you said that you don't necessarily always practice it yourself, but then you was going into some ways that people can.
Okay. So basically, this is grounding yourself. Body sensations, feelings, thoughts. So what's going on around you? Are you standing? Are you sitting? How do you feel right now? What can you do to diminish these feelings, or why do you feel this way? What's going on that's making you feel this way? Can you get out of this situation? If you can't, what can you do to make yourself feel better in this time? I feel like I said a lot before, and now that was just so little.
I know, the devil, man. It's nothing but the devil, y'all.
No.
Slow this down. We got to break up the internet because she's about to give these.
What is going on?
I know, and I got a good question too for you.
Wait, you still can't hear me?
This is better.
Yeah, it's better a little bit. Boost, leave her alone. She working. They try to cut her off. And we working. I thought they put a cease and desist on all bills.
Oh,
so Cricket get off of your back like that.
Not Cricket and Boost.
Not Cricket.
No. It's just the area.
Man, go out to a tree or something, because I need you to
listen, we're supposed to have 5G. Where is it?
I was just going to say, I'm like, this 5G stuff.
This is a scam.
Okay.
This is a scam. I would really like for you to go in depth about this whole idea of getting out of your own head. Like when you said that, that immediately resonated with me because I know so many people who struggle with that. So like, what would you say to a person who, is always having all these thoughts that seem to trigger these anxiety attacks or, bad things or whatever the case may be? Like, what's your perspective on that?
So like I was saying, when you have these thoughts, you have to you have to talk to yourself, like, why are you having these thoughts? What is going on in your life or in this moment that is making you feel this way? Is there anything that you can do to change that? You looking at me like you can't hear me, Miss Joni.
No, I can hear you. No,
Okay,
you
okay.
preaching. Yeah, you speaking. We got the prayer angels on your line right now. That's why we looking all serious, because we need you to get this out.
Please.
What can you do in this moment to help yourself? If you feel like you can't help yourself, can you go to someone and talk to them? Like, tell them how you can talk to people about your feelings. Vulnerability. You can talk to people about your feelings. I know you might be scared. It might upset you a bit, but if you need to get out of your head, in order to get out of your head, you can't keep talking to yourself. That does not always work.
That's good. That's really good.
Y'all heard it from Miss Q, y'all.
Yeah, you can't keep it in there.
Yeah, overthinking kills people, man.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. And it's just like, it kind of goes back to that, like being like, because I don't know, I feel like sometimes I never thought, I didn't really know, I know anxiety was a thing, but I thought it was like the whole extreme. Like you had to be having panic attacks.
Panic attack. Mm-hmm.
And then there would be some times where I just feel a little just unsettled. And I'm like, why am I feeling so tense? And I'm like, oh girl, you might be anxious.
Yes.
Like this might be what they're talking about. I'm starting to laugh, y'all. This is just how I talk to myself. So that's why I'm doing it like this.
No, we appreciate that, Miss Simone. That's real.
And so then I had to realize, I was like, girl, you need to, and it's like you said, Q, like, what is making me feel this way? You know, like really getting to the core and that source of it. And then I realized it's either because I'm thinking about the future and like things that I feel like I can't control. And it makes me a little unsettled. And I'm like, all right, Simone, stop. You're not in control of everything. Like there's some things that you can, but some you just have to let it run. And it's going to be okay. If you say that you trust and believe, you feel like you're doing your part, why wouldn't good things happen to you? Why wouldn't you feel like things are going to work out in your favor? And like you said, if there are some things that I can do, like if I know I'm procrastinating, all right, I got it. That's why I'm anxious, because I know this is doing an hour and I was talking and now I'm stressed.
Yes. So, Miss Q, what do you do when you realize that you don't have control over a situation?
I try to calm myself down, which is pretty hard because it's like what's making you feel this way is in your head, is you, because it's you. So you have to really get it out of your system what's wrong with you. So it's always great to talk to someone. Always, you need somebody that you can talk to, and I understand that it is hard to have someone to talk to, but you need it. Because if you're going to keep telling yourself every day, you're feeling some type of way and you're like, Q, I can't do this. Yeah, you're right, you can't. What? No, you need to talk. So if you go tell somebody right now, I feel like I can't do this, what is the first thing they're going to say? Yes, you can. That makes you feel better. Yeah. You need that to make you feel better. Yeah, so I have people that I can talk to, people that I trust. And I try to avoid procrastination as much as I can. Because during this time, it's not hard to be like, yeah, I can do that tomorrow. Because you feel like you have time. Yeah. But then tomorrow comes and it's not done and it's due, or you gotta have this done and you don't. And then you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do.
Yo, that right, you just hit on something. We might need a whole nother conversation about that. Yo, people feeling like they got all this time doing Rona when really you don't. And you're gonna find out the hard way when Rona is over. And you gotta try to adjust yourself back to a normal life. Ain't gonna be able to do it. You got some questions here, Miss Q. I don't know who hijacked your thing, but this is you asking you, how do you ground yourself when you feel like you're overthinking?
It's cool.
It's a great question.
Oh, that's
How
great.
do I ground myself?
When you start overthinking, is that the question? How do you
Yeah, how do you ground yourself when you feel like you're overthinking? That's a great question.
It is. Okay. How do I ground myself when I feel like I'm overthinking? So the first thing that you have to do is, you like Miss Simone was saying, you always have to get to the core. Like, what is it? What is it that you're overthinking? What is the reality of this situation? Don't think of all the possible bad outcomes. Think of everything good that could become of this. So you gotta get the negative thoughts out of your head, and then you just calm yourself down. Mindfulness, the now. What is going on now? And this is not going to turn into a bad situation. This will turn out great for me. Ground yourself.
Yo, manifestation, you see me, Miss Simone. Yo, all of that. Your next question is, what advice do you give to people to support people going through anxiety? This kind of ties into what I had asked like earlier.
Yeah. So you have to make people feel like that they have a safe space. Sometimes the problem is you might come off the wrong way when people are talking to you or something, and they're trying to tell you about their problems, and you might say something wrong, which you didn't think was wrong, but to them it was how you said it. Like, okay, what, like you probably say, okay, what's your problem now? Or what's going on? It's like your facial expressions, you making them feel like they can't talk to you. And now they're over there having an anxiety attack because they don't have nobody to talk to. And they're upset and they're scared. You gotta be able to provide a safe space. Listen to what they're saying. And what I said before, like, don't listen just to listen to comprehend, listen to understand. Do you understand their feelings? Don't just be like, okay, yeah, I understand, because you probably don't.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Good morning, Lamar. Yo, that's amazing, yo.
So good.
Listen to understand. Don't say you understand because you probably don't. Yo, that's real.
It's okay. Just listen, and that safe space is so key. Does anybody else have a question before I ask a question? I want to make sure they.
Oh no, we good on the questions now. But make sure y'all drop your questions for Miss Q.
Yeah. Like, I feel like you were gonna touch on social anxiety, and I know a lot of people talk about that. And can you tell us more about how to navigate that?
Okay, so social anxiety is you have a fear of social situations, and you feel like you're going to be judged or you could be humiliated. What was your question?
Yeah, no, it's okay. I was just saying, like, tell us more about social anxiety, maybe like a time where you felt like a little social anxiety and how you overcame it.
Today.
Yo, what?
When I don't like big groups, and that's because I have social anxiety. So it was a lot for me to start going to Thriving Thursdays. Like Corey will always tell me about it. I'm like, oh my God, like, yeah, I would like to do that. But I'm like, how many people? Like, I don't like big groups. Like, I'm scared. Like, you feel like when people walk into a room, you're like, everybody's staring at me. Oh, I look crazy. Something's wrong. Like, it's scary.
Yeah, it's kind of
like,
no, really? For real? Yeah, I would have never ever thought that. And it's crazy because you never think that, like certain people would have these issues. So like hardcore, very attractive, you, very attractive, like elder, very attractive. Like it's so many people who from the outside is like, you just expected to be confident. You expected to kind of know how to navigate in these spaces. So just to kind of try to take a step back and, understand or even think that you may have not have felt comfortable. Like, I don't know. It's kind of like twofold for me. As the person who organizes it, it's like, okay, how can we make that a safe space for people who feel like that to come in and not feel overwhelmed and to feel like you have a space and to feel like you belong. But then again, too, you know, how do we truly prepare you for the world? So that way, when you go out, you know, into spaces where it can't be controlled, that you are able to walk in there with your confidence and go in and do whatever it is that you need to do. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
I feel like you have to build confidence. Like for me, when I first came to Thrive on Thursday, I was like nervous because I didn't know anyone. But you know, once you get into a rhythm and you start, once I started coming like every Thursday, it was like, okay, I know these people. When I go in here, I'm not scared. I don't have anxiety. So you have to build up your confidence. And I feel like HeartSmiles does a really great job of that. You're introducing us to all these new people, all these new areas, and we can go into these places and be like, I'm confident, I got this, I can do this.
Absolutely.
That means everything. Lamar said, Ms. Q, how do you help someone that suffers from social anxiety? That's a great question. Oh, that's not Lamar's question. That's you asking you again.
Sorry.
It is funny.
It's crazy.
I feel like, just like I was saying, just be there for them. You have to create a safe space. Make them feel like they can talk to you. It's like when you have anxiety, it's all about like, it's all in your, well, I'm not gonna say it's all in your head, but it is all in your head, and you need to be able to get out of your head. That's the main thing about this. You have to get out of your head, and for someone, you have to create that safe space for them to come talk to you and tell you how they're feeling. It's not much that you can do. It's really about the person. They have to feel like they're confident.
Okay, this is good. So I'm hearing like it's twofold, right? So the person, like what they can do is try to like get out of their own head, get to the source of like what is causing them to feel anxious, like kind of build up that confidence, tell themselves positive things, like good things are going to happen to me, and kind of talk to someone. And then the person who we just need to create a safe space for them to share with us and listen.
Yes.
Okay.
Marcus Allen said, how can you help someone who overthinks too much consistently? That's a great question, Marcus Allen.
That's a really great question. Well, I feel like this should go back to the techniques I was talking about, like practicing mindfulness and the visualization and listening to calm music and avoiding procrastination and all that. Like, because if you're overthinking about like something that you probably have to do later on, or something that you got going on. So if you got something that you plan that you need to do for that, don't procrastinate, get that done, because you're gonna overthink. Like, okay, if I do it now, then just you're gonna be overthinking on the situation. Just don't do that. Practicing mindfulness. Stay in the now. Overthinking is a lot to do with what could happen, and like something that has not happened yet, but you're thinking, oh, this is gonna be bad. This is gonna be this. What's the now? What's going on now?
Yes. Because
I love it.
Mm-hmm. And I was gonna say, you're giving me stuff, Q, because I'm like, if you focus on what you can do now, it will prepare you for tomorrow, right? Yes. So it's like, but if you spend all your time on tomorrow, you're not doing anything now, and then you're just getting even more frazzled for tomorrow because you spent the time thinking about tomorrow, still procrastinating instead of thinking about now. Oh, that's good too.
That's great, right? Yo, And the same thing applies to when you're chasing your dreams and chasing your goals. Like so many people, just like how you said, they worried about what could potentially happen in terms of them failing, not succeeding, that you never really amp yourself up to a place where you can start to even see if that's true. So you done conjured up all these scenarios in your mind when none of them probably never going to come true anyway. Yeah, I love that. Ari said, and Ari, don't worry, you good, because I don't think this question was asked, and it's a great question. Ari says, what tips do you have to cope with an anxiety attack in public?
That's really good.
That's deep.
Really good.
I've dealt with someone that had an anxiety attack in public, and what I did personally was they were breathing heavy. They were really scared, so I had them leaning against a wall, and I was talking to them like, "What's going on? Are you okay?"
Oh man, it's breaking up.
Boost, get off of her.
Wait, cute.
How are you feeling right now? You might. Some people. Oh my
gosh.
I'm so sorry. Wait, just a second. They know when
they got her frozen. Yo, I hate cricket, yo. Come back, Q. Come back. Can you do resuscitation with Simone? Where your medical equipment? Put it on the thing. Boom. Yeah. We got. Yeah. You straight dropping a jewel on us. We need that.
Please, you. Yes. One more time, please.
Please, we need that.
Breathing when you said they were breathing heavy.
Okay. I'm asking them, and if they weren't able to answer my question, been a problem. But so we were in a mall, and so I was like, okay, let's get you to the car. Well, in public. So it was like, let's get you out of the public eye, and they were like still breathing heavy. You said it was what?
Sorry, it was still breaking up, Q. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm gonna let you hold one of my phones. This is crazy. Yeah.
Give it a little bit.
It is crazy.
Oh, whenever I know this is an old lady, but I just start.
I think let me
know.
Shake it a bit.
I know Lamar said I can't hear. I know Lamar. We working on it. Cricket is really playing with our life.
Don't worry.
It's not cricket. This is crazy. Don't listen to her. It's Sprint.
Oh, it's Sprint. That's even worse. I hate Sprint.
I do.
Sprint trying to play.
Exactly. They need to chill. We trying to get this jewel.
Okay. I feel like this is better.
All right, just don't move. Stay right where you at.
Don't move.
Don't move.
Okay. No moving. All right.
Here we go.
Can you let it out now?
Okay.
Right. Still at the breathing. If we could do
That's really?
I know.
Okay.
I know.
So sorry.
All right. Like I was saying, people usually hold themselves up well in public. I've noticed that, like, if something's wrong with them, it might be a little hard, but they might, they might be able to, like, okay, I don't want anybody watching me. Usually that's how it is when I was experiencing that. So I got them I was trying to see if they were okay to walk and if we could get them out of the public eye, and I was trying to get them to the car. And I was like, are you okay? Is there anything that you need? What is making you feel this way? What do you think could help you at this time? And what we had to end up doing was just like really talking to them, and that really calmed them down. Like you have to be the grounding force. Like everything's gonna be okay. Like you're fine. Whatever you're thinking that's not gonna come to fruition. Like be the grounding force.
What would you say for somebody who's in public who happens to be alone? So like say like if that person like didn't have you there to help walk them through that, like what would you advise that person to do?
Okay. By yourself, you take a moment to practice mindfulness. Take a moment to practice mindfulness. Where are you? What's happening right then and there? Can you find a place to escape to where you can be by yourself? Can you I've seen this, like people put their head between their legs to calm their breathing. If you could do that, I'm not sure if drinking water will help you because you might choke on it, but don't do that. Just see if you could take deep breaths and calm yourself in that space that you're in, and what's making you feel this way. Can you get out of this situation? Can you stop this?
Do you think it would help to kind of tell yourself like this isn't real? Like what I'm thinking isn't
Oh,
really
yeah.
like it's okay. Breathe, like kind of do that self-talk, like stay in the moment. Everything's gonna be okay, like that kind of stuff.
Yes, you should definitely do that.
Perfect. Yeah.
Do people have anxiety attacks over things that are real though? Like say like they failed like a big test or they didn't get into a program or something like that. Like do people have anxiety attacks over that kind of stuff?
So yeah, they do. There's can I tell you guys about the different types of anxiety?
Please, yes.
So there are a bunch of different types. So generalized anxiety would be kind of what you're talking about, Miss Joni. Like it's extreme, like worry about everything, anything bad that could happen. That's just that. Like you get a bad grade on a test, you're like, oh my God, like no, I'm going to fail this whole semester. I'm going to fail this. I'm going to fail that. Or I failed this one test. I'm going to fail everything. That's anxiety. That's overthinking. And then there's social anxiety. Of course, we already touched on that. And PTSD is actually a form of anxiety. When you witness or experience something that's traumatic. OCD, which I did not know, that is also a form of anxiety. And it's not really like cleaning, like just cleaning up, wanting to be clean. It's you get overwhelmed with the thoughts that make you compulsive, and you want to repeat those things. Like you might repeat a number, or if you do something, you do it in threes. Everything you do in threes. That's OCD. Oh my gosh, do you do that?
Hey, yo, what?
It's okay. Look. Yes.
Yo, that's crazy. I don't have anxiety. It ain't no way. It ain't no way. No way.
The definition though is
I know. You're right. You're right. I know.
A little something.
Oh my goodness, can we help you? What's going on?
Wow. Like you telling me my life a little teeny bit when you touched on that. Like when you started moving from like that like OCD stuff and stuff like doing things in threes or like in certain numbers and stuff like that. Like consistency is embedded in like what I do. Like even like when I go to the market, like I pick the same things up in the same order, put them on the counter in the same order, like all that time.
Oh.
But I don't have anxiety. I just wanted to be right.
Like that.
Even like my shoe boxes, Adidas, y'all got y'all place. Jordans, y'all got y'all place. Like, I need it. I want my stuff to be right.
If it's
sounds a little.
yo, this is crazy.
Yeah. And I'm going to touch back on that, Miss Joni, but also phobia.
We don't have to.
But phobias are also a form of anxiety.
Wow. Lamar said, what is the most common form of anxiety?
Social. Social anxiety is common, and then I would say PTSD.
That makes sense.
Those are the ones
Yeah, that makes sense, especially in our communities.
Oh, yes.
absolutely.
It's been normalized seeing people out on the street, or when you see a certain group of people, you're like, oh yeah, no. PTSD.
Mhm.
Yeah, like reminds you.
Oh, this is a great question. Can you get PTSD from anything? That's a great question.
Um,
Cute.
Oh, I'm freezing. Where the chakra, Miss Simone? Oh,
I guess you could say anything, because it's like, it's literally when you witness or you experience. Can I move?
gosh, yes, you back to life.
Okay, I'm gonna try and get a new position here.
Now you sound like this.
I'm so
Y'all, it's okay. Y'all gonna get off my baby. Keep cricket. This is okay.
It's not my fault.
Don't worry. It's not your fault. You just keep preaching, and that's why we're happy.
Yes, because the devil don't want us to get all these good Jews.
We're gonna get them today.
We gonna get them.
So I'm assuming it cut off when I was talking about PTSD.
Yes.
All right. So I said, I guess you can, because it's literally experiencing or witnessing a traumatic situation. So a lot of people might, they might have gotten burned by fire or something when they were younger, and then as they get older, they do not like fire. That's probably something little, but you experience PTSD from it. You might have drowned or almost drowned when you were younger. Let me not say that. And you don't want to swim when you get older. You don't want to go into the ocean. Like, it's not just like seeing someone, die or anything. It could be anything. So yes.
I have a question. So could it be like PTSD and social anxiety kind of go a little hand in? So like, let's say people have bad experiences when they are in social settings, and so now they've built up this like like PTSD for when they go into certain social situations, and now they're nervous because they're like triggered by it could happen again. Like I could look silly, or someone could be mean, or I could be awkward, or just is that kind of related, or
Oh,
is
wow. Yeah, I feel like that definitely is related. That sounds a lot like why I had social anxiety. It's the fear of something that happened before and it could happen again. Wow. Thank you, Miss Simone.
thank you. You put
Yo, thank y'all.
that's
Yo,
because it's
this is crazy. What you saying, Miss Simone? This is crazy.
yeah, because like you said, Miss Jean, it's like you beautiful, smart. I'm like, when you go into a room, own the whole room. Don't let look you in the mirror and be like, I'm that boss person. Like however you please. Get some positive affirmation, and it's real though, because some I wouldn't say it's like so, but it is a little uneasy, especially if you've been in certain situations where it hasn't been the most positive. But kind of like what I told you guys when we were talking about effective communication, when I'm like, you got to tell yourself half the time people aren't even half the time people are just as nervous as you are. just as awkward as you are. We're all human beings trying to put on this, expectation of how we want to present ourselves and how we want to look. And day by day, we're just trying to figure it out. So that kind of calms me down and remembering to be my best self. But I could definitely see how that could be triggering and it makes you feel like weird when you go into new settings because you're like, oh Lord, is this about to happen again?
Mhm. Yo, that's real, y'all. That's
Yeah.
real. And even just like listening to y'all and reflecting back on my own life. Yo, I was in my late 20s living in Anne Arundel County, far away from Baltimore City, far away from, everything that I grew up around, still shaking my shoes for roaches. Like tapping my shoes, shaking my friends looking at me like, Joni, what you doing? And I'm shaking my shoes. PTSD.
Yes.
PTSD. That's crazy. That's I didn't I was in my 30s when I stopped shaking my shoes.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Cause oh sorry. Go ahead, Kate.
oh no. I was listening.
Oh sorry.
No, that was traumatic for me. People might think that that's something like that's not serious, but that was traumatic for me. Like going to school, opening up my book bag, roach fall out, like putting my foot in my shoes, like what is that? Roach in it? I'll never again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's real. So I was just thinking because I'm like, okay, so anxiety, it could like be triggered from your past. So like past thoughts can like overwhelm you, but you can also be worried about what could happen in the future. So I'm just getting the revelation again why it's so like, y'all, this is really hitting me. I'm sorry. The now because if you can just focus on your like that is key. I'm a little bit more to the future. I get a little anxious about the future. Um and like just remembering what I can do today will help me for what I want. So don't even think about that. Think about today. And then I guess for how do y'all overcome some of the things in the past that have like tried to creep into your mind? Like how did you overcome that, Miss Joni? How do you overcome
Oh,
some
did you read that question? Because that was the question in the chat.
yeah. Ricky.
Me personally, I really feel like I was just blessed with a strong mindset. Like I don't think that I did anything really to cultivate it. I was just kind of blessed with it and I accepted it. And I knew that like that was my way out of poverty. Like I knew at an early age, you're talking elementary school, that I was not supposed to be poor. Like I didn't necessarily understand what the opposite of being poor was, but I knew I wasn't supposed to be poor. And my thing was, I'm going to work and work and work and work and work until I'm not poor anymore. So, like for me, overcoming it, it was just really seeing myself now in a different situation, in a better situation, and doing exactly what we said we was going to do, which was make it better for the next generation. So, like, even though I don't have any biological kids, I have my nieces and nephews from my brother and sister, and they don't know what it's like to not have anything. Like they go in the refrigerator, they do whatever they want. They county, basically born and raised, county education, all that. Like they don't, they wouldn't have survived. And that's how we wanted it to be though. So for me, it's like seeing that be a reality. It's like, yeah, we did it.
Great. Um, I don't think I've actually overcome traumatic things in my past. But like Miss Joni, I feel like I belong somewhere else and I'm gonna keep working towards my goal. I mean, I'm still young. I just hit 20, so I feel like I have time to make this happen and I'm going to make it happen.
Absolutely.
That's
Yes.
awesome. Y'all, we are at our time. This was an amazing conversation. Lamar said, I agree because sometimes I'll be nervous and I realize that no one actually knows I'm anxious. And I realize over time that people don't actually know you. Maybe that's just how you are. And that moment is whatever I make it. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
You got to drop a jewel on us. We literally only got about 30 seconds. Then we got to get ready for our guest speaker, Mr. Al, coming on, talking about, are y'all hiring?
um, just
You got this. You got this. You had already killed the whole session.
Go back to what
You got it. Just take us
ground
home.
myself.
The first thing that's coming to your mind.
Yeah, just take us home. You already killed it.
Practice mindfulness, guys.
I
That
love
really helps. I just calmed myself down. I had to ground myself. I was getting nervous. I was getting put on the spot. Like, you know what?
Yes, I like that. Practice.
Yo, I love it, y'all. I love it. If this ain't inspiration, I don't know what it is, but what it is. Whether you watch this video today or a year from now, this right here is inspiration. Somebody that's actually putting in action the steps and the tips and stuff that they telling you what to do, like on the spot. It don't get no realer than that. Thank you so much, Miss Q. You were
Thank
amazing. You did an amazing job. Thank you so much, Miss Simone. As always, I see you back tomorrow on my favorite day at 10 o'clock. And I see y'all right back at 11 with Mr. Al, y'all, talking about his new book, Are We Hiring? A Young Person's Guide to Navigating the Professional World. All right. I'll see y'all in a few minutes.
you.
Hey y'all, we are back. We are back. Man, shout out to Miss Q, man. Did an amazing job. Killed that whole session. Now we about to get into Mr. Albert, y'all. Mr. Albert Phillips. We got him on. Drop y'all questions, y'all comments, all that. Definitely gonna make sure we get to all y'all questions. There you go.
Hey, hey,
Hey, Mr. Al, how you doing?
what's going on?
Man, working hard. How you feeling?
Hey, all things considered, I'm blessed, and I'm, keeping my spirits high.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm super, super, super excited to talk with you today and to have this conversation and to get into are y'all hiring? I thought that was an amazing title when I saw it. I said, oh, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So I told my young people, drop their comments, drop their questions. Whatever questions we get, I'll make sure that I ask you those questions so that we can keep it engaging. But can you just start off by kind of doing like an introduction? Like, who are you? Where you come from? How did you come to what you're doing now?
Absolutely. I'm blessed and fortunate to be from Baltimore City, straight up. And I tell people that no matter where I go, it's always this negative stigma, like, but I wear that, like a badge of honor. I'm an educator. I'm a writer. I'm a youth advocate, and somebody who's very passionate about changing and improving the lives of our young people, particularly our black teenagers. I mean, people always say that our youth are the future, which I truly believe, but I also feel like they are the now, and they are people that we should invest in now, and that we should be trying to work our hardest to propel them to levels that are far beyond the confines of what we have established on our own. My pops always tell me, well, he used to tell me when I was younger, he was like, look, I don't want you to be like me. And I'm like, what, pops? Like, what you mean you don't want me to be like you? Like, you somebody I look up to, I want to be like you, right? I see you in that type of light. And he's like, I want you to be better than me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want you to soar way beyond where I've ever gone, right? I want you to think thoughts that I haven't even thought yet. And so that's the mentality I take with this work. And I'm blessed and fortunate to be on with you today.
Man, that is awesome. So you're from Baltimore. So East, West, where'd you grow up? Where you went to school? Give us all that.
It's always hard for, Baltimore, we always, what side you from, right?
Yeah, we gotta know that.
It's always hard for me to rep one side because I've grown a lot from both East and West. My earlier childhood, I spent a lot of time in Sandtown over West, not too far away from Shake and Bake. And I lived over there until I was, I think, in like sixth grade. And then, my pops, we moved to Sedonia, which is in Northeast Baltimore. And it was like a whole new world, right? I'm like, yo, it's quiet around here. Like, ain't nobody shooting. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to tell nobody to get out my steps in the morning. This is different. I didn't like it for a long time because I'm like, what is this? I was used to like the commotion and the drama and all of that of just being in the hood. And so those are two times I spent two sides I spent a lot of time on. And as far as school, I went to Dunbar High School, which taught me a lot just as a young man, as a teenager. I'm still connected with some of my teachers there. My 10th grade U.S. history teacher, Kevin Gross, we call him Baba Gross. My ninth grade English teacher, Miss Boyd, she got married. Her name is Miss Holloway now, Miss Holloway. So these people, they had such a big impact in my life that I maintained a relationship with them. And so after high school, I went to BCCC, Baltimore City Community College, which at that time, and maybe it still is, was considered like the 13th grade. You know what I'm saying? Like, people wasn't really showing no love to BCCC. And even me, I wasn't going to go there at first. I was going to go to Morehouse, where I got accepted. And I really wanted to go, but only because my girlfriend at the time was going to Clark. And so I was trying to follow her. So I'm going for all around reasons. So I ended up going to BCCC, this wonderful program that still exists. Like, y'all should definitely look this up. It's called the Granville T. Wood Scholars Program. I know now they have the the mayor's scholarship program where you can go to school for free, you can transfer to Coppin, you continue on your educational journey there and get your bachelor's. But the difference between these two is the Granville T. Woods is based on your grades. And so, I can't remember the exact average you have to have, but from being in community college, I was able to travel abroad to Italy for 3 weeks, completely free. They gave us a laptop, they paid for our books, they paid for our tuition. So a lot of great perks came from that. So check out that program. And then from BCCC, I went to Morgan State. Shout out to the Bears, shout out to MSU. Um, that was like probably my favorite college experience there. I studied, well, at BCCC, I just did general studies because I wasn't sure like exactly. I know I love to write, but I wasn't sure like what I wanted my major to be. So I just did general studies. Then when I went to Morgan, that's when I studied journalism. So I got into like newspaper, and I got into just really put myself out there as a writer. From Morgan, I then went to Johns Hopkins, where I graduated from last year. I became a teacher, and I graduated from there last year and got a master's in education. So it's a little bit. I know it's a lot. That's a little bit of my journey.
Oh, that's great. Can you say the name of the program again? I got a comment that said, "Can you say the name of the program?"
Absolutely. It's called the Granville T. Woods Scholars Program, and that's at Baltimore City Community College.
Okay. Yeah. And can you text me that too when you get a chance? I'm gonna drop that in the comments for y'all too, because that might be helpful. Yeah, thank you so much. You dropping all these jewels already.
Hey, no problem. That's what I'm here for.
So like when you think about growing up and like your childhood experiences, I know you rep both East and West. Like, what were some of the experiences that have like shaped you the most?
A lot. Contrary to a lot of people that I know, I grew up with my pops. Like my mom, my biological mom, hasn't been directly in my life since I was 12. And so that's like the opposite of all my friends. Most of them like, I don't care about my father. I don't know my father. He was in my life for various reasons, unfortunately. And so my experience was different. And that was tough, not having your biological mom around. And I'm still to this day figuring out different ways that it's affecting me. My father even said, like, he said, I didn't really know how it was going to affect you, but I knew it was going to affect you some kind of way. So that led to tears sometimes, that led to me just feeling like, man, like, what's going on? Not feeling like myself all the time. And so, having a strong Black man in my life, though, like who went to college, who was very impactful in the community and still is, like, that was like paramount for me. And so to the point where he went to Morgan State, I remember going there with him as a child. And I used to sit in the classroom. I didn't really know what the instructors was talking about. They just, I'm like, what is this? I'm like 12 years old. But me being there was impactful to the point where I remember going back to that same room that I was in with my father when I was younger. I had a class there as a student, like sitting in that same space. Like, man, I remember this. I remember the feeling of being a kid in this class. And now I'm back here as a student. And, that just shows the power of like being exposed and having access to different opportunities. Like, I might not have thought that was possible. I might not even be interested in that if it wasn't for my father. So that was a tremendous part of my upbringing. But also just being around people who are like dedicated to the community, like people who are, willing to give their last to help support somebody. So being a part of organizations like Reality Speaks, Soul Violence Nation, which is a local Black nationalist and Pan-African organization right here in Baltimore. They're not existing in the way that they used to, but being a part of that and seeing people have pride in being Black, because sometimes when you turn on the news, I'm not even gonna say sometimes, all the time when I turn on the news, I don't really see a lot of positive images of Black people achieving things, of Black people mastering things, of Black people being analytical thinkers, being activists, I don't see that often. And so me being my circle, people that I'm around, like that was powerful for me because it changed my mentality on what it means to be Black. Charlemagne the God, a lot of people probably know him from the Breakfast Club. He says a lot of controversial stuff.
A lot, a lot.
But,
It's like you love him or hate him.
yeah, one or the other. But he put out a book called Black Privilege, which talked about, some of the privileges of being Black, because sometimes we might not see it that way based upon how we have been influenced by the dominant society. So, those things are important to me.
Yeah, wow. So did you always know that you wanted to be an author?
I think it was sprinkled in at different points in my life. The first time I ever published something, I was 12. I was in Miss Wilson's class. Shout out to Miss Wilson. She was my sixth grade, I think, ELA teacher. And I remember being in her class during 9/11 because we had to call like our parents and stuff. It was a crazy time. But I also remember her, as well as my sixth grade social studies teacher, Mr. Sai. Y'all notice I'm mentioning a lot of teachers, right? This is because they had a tremendous impact on my life, which is probably what drove me to become a teacher. But I remember being in her class and she would allow us just like computer time, like free time. And so I went on poetry.com, which is a website that still exists. And if y'all look me up on there, my poem is still on there from when I was 12. And it was about my dog. It was about my dog named Clementine. I had a basset hound that my pops gave me. And so, from that point, I think different ways, even in high school, Mr. Kelly in his English class, I used to love writing. I used to love reading. The only reason why I didn't major in professional writing at BCCC is because I didn't want to take Spanish, which I wish I would have taken it, in high school. Right? Like, Spanish is like the second language in this country. And so it's an important thing to know, but I was like, I ain't taking that, And so writing has always been a big part of my life.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome. So talk to us about when you first decided that, this is what I want to do. And then now you have this amazing book. I haven't read it yet. I will read it because I got to get a copy. But
it's not out yet.
It's not out yet?
Coming soon.
Well, as soon as it comes, I will be one of the first people to have it. But just kind of walk us through that. And can you talk in terms of following your dreams too? Because a lot of young people get stuck in that whole in that transition piece of, I have something that I want to do. This is something that's on my heart, but then things happen kind of in the middle and we never really get to achieving what that is. And you've made it to achieving to what that is. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the whole book idea came to me. I've been working on it for, I say, over a year now, just like in a cut, like not really telling people publicly outside of my like immediate circle about it. And so I kept it to myself. One, because, I think Fabulous said the line, yeah, it was Fabulous, the rapper. He was like, make more moves and less announcements. And so I'm just like, all right, cool. Like I'm gonna work behind the scenes on my dream, and I'm gonna share it with people when I'm ready to share it with them. When I feel like I'm at a point that is gonna make a legitimate impact. And so I started by just like, writing stuff down, like just writing down my ideas, writing down my thoughts about the book, and just putting it up like on my wall. I would literally have a big poster paper with just thoughts, and I would just throw it up. And in the writing process that I used to teach to my students, that's called brainstorming. And so just putting that up and looking at it. And even science suggests that, you writing something down and you going back and you looking at it over and over again, it starts to make an imprint on your brain and you start to analyze it more, which even leads to like the law of attraction. They say what you put out there is what you get back. And so I kept writing, kept adding on to it. And then I started to use my network around me. Like people, I know authors, I know designers, I know people that do almost everything. All I need to do is pick up the phone and make a call, and they like, cool, like let's do it. Of course you got to pay people. Anybody ain't doing it for free, but I'm willing to do it, right? Like I'm willing to support somebody's business or what they have an expertise in, because I'm not an expert in everything. And so they were like, all right, cool. So I reached out to a designer. I reached out to some of my mentors who had written books specifically for children. They gave me a lot of good advice. Most of the advice was like, okay, write it. There is, like, it wasn't anything deep and philosophical. It was like, just write it, like just write, because so many people have ideas, I'm sure that just like stay as ideas. And some ideas are probably not the best ideas and they should stay as ideas, but other ones, I'd argue, they should come to fruition. We should bring them to light. There's so many ideas that just flutter away. And so writing stuff down is important. Talking to your network is important. And then just getting started, like, putting that pen to paper, or, in this age, we putting the fingers to the keyboard and just start writing it.
That's awesome. I have a question here from Ashlyn. What subject and grade do you teach?
So I stepped out of the classroom in 2018. After that teaching experience, I was a dean. Currently, I'm not in the school system right now, but when I was teaching for a few years, I taught 5th grade, and I taught science, social studies, and English language arts.
Wow. And I made a note over here while you were talking, and I really want you to touch on this just a little bit, the power of your network. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of young people don't really kind of get it. Like they say they get it, but like not really. So can you talk about like what a network is, how as a young person they should be building up their network, and what the importance of a network is?
Absolutely. So I'll give you a quick backstory. I talk about my dad a lot too, you'll notice. So, and growing up, sometimes I used to hate going to like the store or the gas station, or literally anywhere, because my dad knew everybody. And so we going for a quick trip and it would turn into a 30-minute conversation. I'm like, bro, like not again. You know what I'm saying? Like everywhere we go, like how do you possibly know every person everywhere? And as a child, I resented that and I thought it was just like annoying. But as an adult, I realized that the power of your network is the power of you, really. And so now I understand the importance of knowing so many people. I mentioned earlier, like knowing people that have different skills, things that you don't know, people that you can access, right? Like people that you can call on when you need them. So your network is what people say your network is your net worth. It's extremely important. And that includes your friends, that includes your family members, that includes your teachers, your guidance counselors, right? That includes, anybody who has like that close connection with you. Because I honestly believe, especially in Baltimore, they call it Smartimore, right? Like you always just like one person away from whoever you're trying to get in contact with, or whoever, you know what I'm saying? Like it's so tight knit.
So true.
Knows everybody. And so, but you got to ask the right questions, right? Like sometimes, like even when you go on Google, right? Like Google has this wealth of knowledge about nearly anything. But if you only typing in like minimal things, like things that's not gonna get you nowhere, right? If you only typing in small level things, that's what it's gonna shoot back out to you. That's what you're gonna get. But if you start typing in, how do I become blank? Or what's the way to do blank? Or what's a tutorial to learn how to get blank, right? Like you'll start to get some of that information back. Of course, you got to filter it out. But even with your network, like I guarantee you, people watching this video right now, I guarantee you there's one of your friends, there's a family member, there's somebody out there who, if you go to them with your business idea, with your goal, anything that you're working on, they probably have some sort of nugget, some sort of jewel that's going to help you get a little bit closer. But if you don't ask that question, they're not going to give it to you, right? So you got to, sometimes it takes coming out of your comfort zone. I used to tell my students, I always gave them this scenario. I said, yo, this is my boys. I had a crew of boys, like 25 boys that I work with in the morning. And I said, yo, how you let your homeboy fail? And they like, what, Mr. Albert? His grade ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm like, that's your man, right? Yeah, that's my man. That's my dog. What you talking about? Well, wow, when you take a test, you get an A. When he take a test, he get an F. He like, well, he ain't study. I don't know. He ain't do his work. Ain't got nothing to do with me. And I said, man, y'all talk about everything. Y'all talk about Fortnite. Y'all talking about, these are fifth graders, right? Some people in here probably into these things too. And shout out to Fortnite. I ain't knocking Fortnite. But you talk about Fortnite, you talk about girls, you talk about all of these things, but y'all don't never talk about work. Y'all don't never talk about how to help each other improve academically. I say, if that's your man, you got to be willing to have that conversation and be like, look, let's talk about that other stuff later. I want to help you because you my brother and I want you to succeed.
Yeah.
Right? Are you willing to be that vulnerable? And this is hard, like talking to an 11-year-old. They like, what? I gotta do all that. But I'm like, yeah, like, why not? So that's the network though. You know, the network is key. And I encourage you all to really lean on your network because you can get a lot further with your network than you can just by yourself.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's great advice. A lot of jewels being dropped. So the book, y'all hiring.
Yeah.
What is it about? Why should young people be excited about it? What value is it bringing to us?
Absolutely. Great question. So y'all hiring, right? Like I said, I've been working on it for about a year or so, just behind the scenes. The book is going to be about helping Black teenagers. So that the subtitle is The Black Teen's Guide to Navigating Employment. So it's going to be a supportive guide for Black teenagers to figure out what should you do prior to getting a job, what are some ideas or some tips that you can do while on a job and then in transitioning. And the difference between my guide and so many other guides that already exist, right? There are plenty of, how to do your resume, how to do your cover letter, professional dress. Like these things are going to be embedded in the book. And I argue that they are important. However, we can talk about workforce development. We can talk about workplace discrimination, and we can be empowering all at the same time. What I find is that a lot of things, they separate the information and in a way that I don't think is culturally appropriate or culturally aligned for Black youth. Like, it's a disservice to our young people if you are not going to talk to them about workplace discrimination, ways to challenge it, while also talking to them about getting a job. Like not in a way that is like makes a young person feels defeated, right? Like I don't want people to feel like after reading my book, it's over for us. It's a wrap, right? But I want to be able to provide tools and ideas to help people think analytically about some of these issues. And then also just like reframing some of the employment conversation, right? So like a lot of resources that I've seen in my work and that I've seen from other people, it's a very separatist sort of conversation when it comes to workforce. It's like you got to be the best. You got to do it on your own. You got to grind. Don't sleep. Like all of these things that are very, from my research, are white dominant culture, and they don't include what's important. Like I was talking about earlier, things like your network, right? Like things like being able to lean on one another. And they don't speak to the ingenuity of Black youth, right? Like Black youth are creative, they are innovative, right? When I first got my first job, I think it was with YouthWorks. Some of y'all might be doing YouthWorks this year. Hopefully,
Yep.
I hope YouthWorks happens. We'll see. But I just remember walking in there and feeling like I was a sponge and feeling like I didn't have a voice and I didn't really know how to articulate myself. I just felt like I was there to adhere to whatever I was told to do. I wasn't there to advance anything. I wasn't there to add on. I wasn't there to have a voice. And so I'm trying to reverse that thinking through this book and to empower young people to understand the process of navigating employment, but also to feel empowered. Like how one of the topics in the book is about maintaining your cultural identity in the workplace, right? A lot of us, when we get certain jobs, we change. we like completely different, right? And change is neutral. Sometimes change can be good, sometimes change can be bad. But I think that we change sometimes to the point where we alienate ourselves from our people because we don't see the importance of our cultural identity. And it's like, how do you infuse that with workforce development? I haven't seen it done. And so I wanted to present a new perspective, some new ideas. Some things are going to be things that you've heard before, but maybe you didn't think that they were that important. One part in the book is about talking to your elders. Like, ask your grandmother, ask your grandfather for advice. You know, I know when I was young, sometimes I used to just ask the elders, like, can I get a couple of hours, or can I, little stuff like that. But like, sometimes you got to sit down at the feet of grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle, and get those jewels, get that information. And sometimes, again, you got to ask for it because it'll come. Our elders always got a way of infusing those allegories and those fables and those different stories, and you get that jewel later on in life. But sometimes you got to be willing to ask for it. So Y'all Hiring is a comprehensive guide to navigating employment in a culturally relevant way, specifically for Black youth.
Yeah, and when you say like the cultural competence piece and like how people switch up, is that like how like some guys might cut their locks off and have like a regular haircut? Like, is it stuff like that?
So that could be a part of it, but I would say that one, I'm not a fan of employers causing people to have to do things like that. I know like certain professions, like even for like security guards, at certain places, like you have to, if you have locks, you have to cut them off, and things like that. And I wonder in ways like what does that have to do with work performance? Or so that's a separate conversation. But what I mean by people switching up, excuse me, is that sometimes they they literally start to alienate themselves from other Black people. I've seen that on the workplace. So you start to see, some people, I've heard the term, the white man's ice is colder. And so you start to literally only connect yourself with non-Black employees because you feel like, oh, they're gonna be the leaders, they're gonna be the ones with the better advice. I've literally seen those things. But also like even in the way that people talk sometimes, right? Like I do think it's important to be cognizant of the industry that you're working in, that the environment that you're working in. You don't want to walk in there like cussing and things like that. But I think there's this fine line of like learning and growing on your employment journey, but also bringing what you already have along with you, right? Like you have something that's in you already. You're not this empty vessel that's like waiting to be poured into. Like you got some stuff already in there, but sometimes I think we forget that, or it's not propelled enough, when we start to get employment opportunities.
Yeah, no, great perspective. And I definitely want to get into maybe like some tips and stuff from the book that you could potentially leak out and share with us. But I want to ask this question. This question is a great question from Ma. He says, what's some advice on removing yourself or removing things around you to look forward to have a better future? I have had to cut off a lot of people because I feel like they're not here to help me and my goals. What's your advice for that?
That's real. And
Yeah.
I think it's important to have that discernment to be able to determine, and then I'll put it this way. Kanye West, he says some people in your life are seasons. And so, everybody who's around you right now, just because you know them, doesn't mean that they're going to be a contributing factor to your goals right now or ever at all. There may be some people who, maybe never support you. I've had family members, I have friends and things like that who, decided not to support me in different ways when I wanted them to do so. But you got to lean further into those who are willing to support you, who are willing to sit down and talk with you, but also have the mindset that everybody's not going to get it all the time, like right when you present it to them. Some people can't see what's in your mind. Kanye West one time, and politics aside, Kanye West one time said that when he's producing beats, I saw him in an interview. He was like, he would close his eyes and he would see colors, right? And some people might be like, colors? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't get what you're saying. But he had that helped him push his practice. That helped him become a master at producing beats and many other things. And so, as far as finding, your footing in this, it is important to, maybe push some people to the side. It may be forever. It may be for a short period of time. Like that's not up for me to tell you. That's up for you to really look within yourself and determine, like, what value does this person have in my life? And then on the flip side, you want to think about what value are you adding to somebody else's life? Because in the same way that I'm saying that you should vocalize your needs and your wants to other people and your desires, you should be willing to actively listen to other people when they come to you. So it works both ways. It's very much reciprocal. And if you only going to somebody when you need something, I'm sure we got people in our lives who only call us when they want something, when they want to hold something, when they need something. If you being one of those people, then you're not really staying true to the principles of reciprocity. So we got to be able to give as we receive.
Man, that is amazing. He said that he wants to screen record part of what you said. So can you repeat the part where you were talking about people being in your life for seasons? Go ahead and start your screen record, Mo. We got you. I got you.
I'm gonna do my best. But basically what I was saying is that, some people are not in your life for the duration of everything that you're trying to achieve. Like some people may only be in your life for a certain point of time. I even think back, like I remember when I was in high school, I thought that the girl that I was with, I was gonna go down to Atlanta with, I was gonna go to Morehouse, she was gonna go to Clark. I thought we was gonna be married. Like it was no way in the world you'd have came to me and said, bruh, you might wanna think a little different. I wasn't trying to hear none of that. But now that I realized that she was in my life, and she's still in my life, she's still a good friend, but she was only in my life for that relationship for a certain amount of time. And so what I'm saying is that, people are in your life for different times, for different periods, for different reasons. And it's up for you to take some discernment and really chart out those people and see like, okay, this person is in my life for this person might be able to help with that. It's up for you to kind of categorize people your own way, and it's not up for me to decide. But also, like I was saying, at the end of that is that like you want to also be reciprocal in that relationship. You don't just want to be asking and not giving anything and not listening and not participating in what other people got going on. Like that's a part of this. That's a part of our experience, especially as Black people. We have not gotten to this point without supporting one another, right? Like with all of the factors in the world that are designed to systematically and structurally tear us down, we always have each other, and we always have people who we can lean on for support. So it's important just to remember that.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. Hey, y'all, continue to drop your questions, your comments. He's dropping all the jewels today. Can you leak some of these strategies to us? Some things, please.
I'm looking at my notes over here. So I'm working, before I jump into a strategy, I'm working with the editor, which is something that I encourage people to do. And she's been really helpful in helping me organize my ideas and to come up with different chapter titles and many things like that. So one tool that's going to be in the second part of the book that I can leak is about managing your stress. Nobody ever told me when I was a teenager that a job was going to be stressful at times. I thought I was going to walk in, I was going to make some money, I was going to do my thing. If it was a girl there, I probably would have talked to her if she was cute. And then I was going to go in about my day. I was going to cash my check. I was going to buy my shoes or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like that was my thought when I was 14 or 15 years old. But, especially in this time, like honestly, COVID-19 has been a real, I say, mirror on a lot of the inequities that exist, and a lot of things that, you know, we need to continue to fix in our society. But it's important for you to be able to manage your workplace stress, because it can get stressful. There are going to be days where you're tired. There's going to be days when you're just not feeling it. There's going to be days where maybe personal stuff at home is happening and you still got that in your mind, but you got to walk into your job at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you have to be able to find some sort of separation from some of those things, so that it doesn't consume you and stop your ability to be productive at your job. And so some tips in order to do that are some great things, a lot of great things you can do. One of those is very simple. It's taking a break. Like sometimes we get fixated with this idea of like, I gotta work, I gotta grind, I can't sleep, I can't even do anything. I just gotta work, right? That's the only way I can be successful. I gotta work all day, all night, right? Which is very much untrue and is very much unhealthy. And so some things that I do, like I'll literally get up from my desk at times and I'll just walk outside, get some sunshine, like breathe some fresh air, walk around, think some different thoughts, listen to the birds chirp. Like some of these things that we have at our disposal, we overlook because it's like, that's just, you just saying walk outside. But you know, you being able to disconnect, even if just for a few minutes during the workday, is very important. So that's one thing. Two, I would say, and it's something that a lot of my coworkers, they come around when we were in the office. They would come around my desk. They be like, "You always got your aroma diffuser going." You know, I really believe in like aromatherapy. So I would have some lavender, some lemon, you know, just stuff cheap. You can get it from, you know, Walmart or something, one of those other stores. And so having that stuff burning, you know, research shows that can help you relax, that can help you, the sound of water, the sound of a waterfall. So even on like Spotify, I'll pull up like rainforest sounds or something like you might typically be like, what? Like I'm never gonna listen to that. But those sounds and can be very therapeutic. And you also don't have to wait until you like up to here in order to have some practices to help reduce stress, right? Like some people work out because they want to have a six pack and they want to have guns, and that's fine. Like whatever motivates you is what motivates you. But I think it's important simply because there's a ton of science and research that suggests that working out can help relieve stress. You know, it can help you lose weight. It can help you do a lot of things. It can help you be more efficient and productive. It can help with your sleep. So, you know, just having your tool belt, I say, you know, just like Batman or Robin, having your tool belt of different things that you can use to help you continue to be relaxed, right? Sometimes it can be easy to blow up and kind of lose yourself in employment situations. But if you got your tool belt, you can continue to go to different things. You can say, all right, today I'm gonna try this, tomorrow I'm gonna do that. You know, so there's many different things you can do. So manage your workplace stress is very important.
Yo, that is amazing. And it's crazy that you talk about that because the previous session right before yours, we talked today about like anxieties, but specifically like social anxiety and all the things that our young people are dealing with. And I think what you said kind of ties into that conversation. Ashley made a comment here that says they don't even tell us that college is stressful.
Oh my goodness.
Which I think is a great point. So can you just kind of speak on that, especially from like a young perspective, like making that transition from high school to college and then to this workplace that we talk about, and just some of the things that you think that young people should be thinking about doing or actively doing to reduce the stress, reduce those anxieties and things of that nature?
Yeah, so I do remember vividly going from Dunbar High School to Baltimore City Community College, and then going from Baltimore City Community College to Morgan and then to Hopkins. And so one of the things that I think that program that I talked about earlier at Baltimore City Community College, the Granville T. Woods Scholars Program, one thing that I think they did which was very effective, was having a cohort approach. So it was myself, and it was students from other citywide schools, I think it was about like maybe 15 or 20 of us, who all like were coming into this together. And so we can lean on each other for support. It's that network piece coming up again. We can lean on each other for support. We had a lot of the same classes. I would talk to my advisor on a regular basis, just to make sure I was like registered for the correct classes. Um, and then I just try to keep in my mind the goal. Like the goal of me being in Baltimore City Community College was to, build relationships, grow as a professional, to obtain my degree. And so those, I kept that in my mind when I had, like, I had some classes that were super boring, and y'all probably had some of these classes too, even in high school. It's like, oh my God, like, I don't even want to be in here. I don't want to be in here. I remember my biology class in college. One of my friends, Mike, he used to fall asleep, and he would start snoring in the middle of and this is college, right? Like, you paying for it. In the middle of class, he would knocked out asleep. I'm like, Mike, wake up, wake up. But having people like that help reduce some of that stress, because I had other people that I can talk to about classes and about work. Because some of my friends, well, I would say most of my friends that I grew up with, just like who was on my block, a lot of them, they might not have gone to college. Like, I was fortunate to have a father who went to college before me, so I can also talk with him and try to get different advice. And I just kept in my mind as well, like, the stress is going to come, but I'm not the first person that ever had to deal with stress. I'm not going to be the last. But people find that, again, that tool belt or those things that they can lean on for support during those stressful times, and just keep the goal at mind. Like, I remember quitting, and this is off of college real quick, but I remember quitting certain jobs. One of them, a story I talk about in the book, I used to work at Stop Shop and Save on Harford Road.
Oh my God.
And my father, they closed down now, but my father, he knew the regional manager. I ain't even had to interview for the job. It was just like, I met her and I went right in there and had a job, right? So it was during the summertime. I was working there, and I had a youth works job, getting double money. And so, this job though was like, I hated it. I couldn't stand my supervisor. I feel like she was always on me. I worked there literally for 2 days, and then I never went back. And a detriment to that is I could never put that job on my resume. Like, this is an employment tip. I can never put it on my resume. I can never talk about it in an interview, because they would ask like, well, what happened, And so I never wanted to bring it back up. And I ended up connecting with the regional manager again, like maybe like a few weeks after I quit. She found out where my youth first job was, and she came and pulled up on me, right?
Wow.
So I tried to duck her out. They said she downstairs. I said, I ain't going down there, because I already knew what she wanted. I already knew what she was gonna say. So she came upstairs. She came to find me, and she was like, "What happened?" And I said, "Well, I didn't like the supervisor. I didn't like the job. I didn't like the environment." And she was like, "Well, why didn't you talk to anybody? Like, why didn't you call me? I could have tried to support you in some kind of way." And me being 16, 17 years old, I wasn't even thinking about that. I just was like, I'm out. I quit. So one part in the book is about like not making that mistake, not just quitting your job. Now, let me be clear. It may be a point in time in your life where you just need to go. It may be, but I would argue that those times are minimal, and you can still put in your 2-week notice in most cases, as opposed to you just like rolling up out of there. So just be mindful of that.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice and a great story. Mars said, can you talk to us about how we can persevere through things to reach our goal?
Yeah, so one thing I talked about earlier was writing it down, just so it can stay locked in your brain, which is, super important. I also talked about talking to your support network, which is another tip. It keeps it fresh. It keeps it fresh in mind. You can talk about it a lot. You can articulate it. But another thing I would say is to start living it now. And what I mean by that is, I don't know what people on here want to be. It doesn't even matter, because whatever you want to be, you're going to be. But whatever it is, you need to start embodying that now. So think about the 14-year-old, 15, 16, whatever age you are, version of what you want to be. What were they doing? What were they reading? What were they studying? Now we have access. We live in an information age. We have access to so much information, sometimes to the point where it's overwhelming. Also, sometimes to the point where some information is misinformation, which is why you got to use some discernment and filter things. But being able to try to think about, like, how can I live out this now is important. Like, we know right now we living in the age of COVID-19. There's people losing jobs. Y'all probably had personal things going on, family members, right? All of these things are going on. And it's important for you to take care of yourself. It's important for you to take care of your family. But just like I tell the young people that are in my program, don't lose your dreams in the midst of all of this. Don't lose it, because you can find a different way to connect. Like, maybe before you were going to go to a physical place, but now you might have to look up something online. You might have to watch a webinar. You might have to make a phone call to somebody you were going to meet in person instead of meeting them face to face, just like what we're doing now.
Yeah.
So you got to find different ways and be creative and use your intuition to try to still stay engaged on whatever your dream is, because there's still information out there that you can connect with. There are people right now that are professionals that would love to hear from a young person who call them and ask them about, can you tell me about this? Can you tell me about that? Listen, honestly, it's a lot of professionals right here, right now, who are home that's like bored. Like they work all day and like they would love to hear a fresh young voice to be able to engage with,
Hey, tell them to come on. Success sessions. Tell them this way you come.
That's what I'm gonna do. And so, that's important. So, like, if you want to be a politician, right? Are you writing the emails to the politicians that are in your community? Are you calling their office? Their numbers still work. Are you hitting them on LinkedIn, right? Which is a professional networking website. So just be creative in the ways that you attach to your dreams, but don't let them go. Like, don't forget them, because if you do, you might not come back to them.
That is awesome. That is awesome. This is a very important question. We really only got about 7 minutes or so left, and I got another question for you too. But Mo says, how was your experience at Dunbar High School? Because I currently go there, and my experience is very bad. What's some advice that you can give me to overcome these tough challenges, and what hardships would I have to go through to get to your level? It's a deep question.
It is. It's an excellent question. I can already tell this person is brilliant. First and foremost, Ma, I want you to get above my level, so we ain't gonna stop where I'm at. This is this is a part of it, but you're gonna be up here somewhere. So I'm just gonna throw that out there in the universe. But my experience at Dunbar was wonderful. We had a lot of pride, especially during my 9th and 10th grade year. I used to go to the football games. I never played football. Sometimes I wish I did play there, but we won the state championships 3 out of the 4 years I was there. So there was a huge pride at Dunbar. Everybody, wanted. The basketball team was killing. Like, it was the place to be, if you were into athletics or you were into science or biotechnology in high school, you wanted to go to Dunbar, especially because we had that relationship with Hopkins, which was right up the street. But also at Dunbar, I was finding myself. I remember, I think this was my first week of school. So I still remember what I wore on the first day of school. I had on a 3X white tee. Everybody's wearing a big tees back in the day.
Oh my gosh, them nightgowns.
I had some Paco jeans from Foreman Mills, and I had some Air Force Ones, some white ones. And so I just remember that. But I know we only got a few minutes. So to learn about myself at Dunbar was important, because I was learning culturally who I was from some of those organizations I was talking about earlier. And I would come to school in a Marcus Garvey shirt or a W.B. Du Bois shirt, where like a lot of other people had like jerseys and stuff, and people be like, "Yo, what you wearing? Like, you got some deep quote on your shirt." And so I had to deal with that. I had to find a part of who I was. And my U.S. history teacher, he always wanted to push me to be more vocal, to be out there a little bit more, because he thought that I could have an influence on a lot of my peers. But what I would say, with the problem that you're facing at Dunbar, I think it's important for you to, one, talk with other students about them, because you probably are facing something or dealing with something that maybe other students are dealing with or have those same opinions. So it would be important to whoever your peers are, to connect with them, connect with your guidance counselor. If you have a relationship with your guidance counselor, that could be somebody that you talk with. Your teachers, like, be vocal about whatever it is that you're dealing with, because if you allow it to just settle into you without putting it out there into the world, then nobody's gonna ever know, what the problem is. So be vocal, and then be solutions oriented, right? Like, don't just be mad for the sake of being mad or complain for the sake of complaining, but maybe with your peers or with others, you can think about, like, what's a solution to whatever the problems is that you have.
Yeah, that's great advice. Where do you see yourself in your career in 10 years? It's a great question.
That's a great question. You know, with writing, with working with young people, I really want to, I want to travel more. Um, I see myself possibly, directing some youth program. I see myself with more books out. I see myself married. Well, I'm definitely gonna be married. My fiance, she gonna knock me out if I don't feel get married. With children, and I see myself continuing to connect and having experiences like this, and hopefully, I want to be able to be in my living room or sitting on my couch and see some of y'all on the TV screen, who are, sharing information with other people, and I'm learning from you. So that's where I see myself. I see myself continuing to fight on the behalf of those who have been warred upon for hundreds of years, and supporting young people.
That is awesome. Man, we literally only got about 2 minutes left, and I got to get your jewel. But before your jewel, can you please talk to young people who have this diehard entrepreneur spirit? So your book, Are Y'all Hiring, teaches us how to navigate like the employment situation. How can this still help a young person who doesn't necessarily want to work for anybody, and they really, really, really want to build something that's going to be able to sustain them and sustain their family? Can you connect those two?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So one part in the book, I wanted to have a friend of mine, to be a contributor, to talk specifically about developing an entrepreneurial spirit inside of the workplace. Unfortunately, that section won't be in there, but we might have something else in the works. But in the book, though, it is going to have a section about budgeting, right? Like, so making sure you think about where your money is going to go before you get it, is very important, because, just like I described earlier, a lot of my money went to material things because I wasn't thinking 10, 20 years down the line. Sometimes I wasn't even thinking 6 months down the line. But if you got goals, if you're trying to be an entrepreneur and start a business, it's going to be important. You might have to work for somebody while also working on your entrepreneurship, right? Like, you might be using that money to help fund your goals and your dreams. So I would say think about that. And secondly, I'm glad you asked about that. I got a book right here. It's called Black Business Secrets by Dante Lee. And this is a book. I had a clothing line called Rebellious Black Soul that I recently paused on because I'm working on this book and becoming a writer more. And so this book has a lot of tips and jewels in it, that can help you with becoming an entrepreneur. So definitely check this out. You can get it like online or something.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we always end with a jewel. What are you going to leave us with?
Yeah, this is so much. I'll leave you with this. I think I got this off a Big Crit album or something. But the only limitations you have are the ones that you place upon yourself. So we live in a world where we know that there are forces that are actively against us every single day. We know that. However, there's nothing that can stop you more than you can stop you. So if you allow all of these outside factors, and sometimes you got to battle with yourself, If you allow those things to slow you down to end your progress, then it's going to slow you down and it's going to end your progress. So don't have those limitations. Like, think beyond, think deeper, think more, expand your mind, and you're going to be whatever you want to be because it's already ordained, right? All you got to do is run out there and grab the baton and it's yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Al. The time always goes by so fast, but you were amazing. Your light, your wisdom, your jewels, everything was just so amazing. Thank you so much for a fruitful
Thank you.
conversation. And you definitely got to keep us posted on the book. Soon as it's ready, we got to be the first to know.
Y'all
Y'all
hiring.com.
hiring.
Yep,
Y'allhiring.com. Y'all heard him. And
yep.
we're going to drop the links that he mentioned earlier too. So you going to text me those?
I got you.
He going to send those to me and we're going to put those in there. Thank you so much, Mr. Al.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for tuning in. I appreciate y'all.
All right. We'll see you later.
All right. Peace.
Okay. Bye-bye. Y'all, such a powerful conversation. Great jewel after jewel after jewel after jewel he was giving us. It's always nice when you can have people who are open to sharing their secrets, to sharing their best practices, and not being stingy with their knowledge and with their wisdom. Like, I love it. The time always go by super, super fast, y'all. So thank you again to Mr. Al. Y'all hiring. We're going to be looking forward as soon as he drop it, and I'm gonna put the links in a little later. So, and I'll see y'all back here in a few minutes at noon with Miss Mo. Hey, y'all. We are back. Miss Mo wanna sing.
Hey,
What's up, Miss Mo? How you doing?
good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm blessed. Can't complain at all. Just wrapped up a great conversation with Mr. Al. Did a really good job. The time went too fast, as always.
As always, right. How was it? What did he talk? Of course,
It was great.
give me
Yeah,
the whole thing.
yeah, no, it was great. Well, first of all, the top of the morning, we started off with Miss Simone and
Mhm.
Miss Q. She did an amazing job. Q did a great job talking
Thank you.
about like social anxiety, how to deal with that. Touched on like PTSD, the impacts of that, and things that you can do to kind of work past that. Like she really did a great job, like talking about it from a youth perspective and just like really bringing clarity and making those things real. And she even touched on like how people can help people when they are like having a crisis or things like that. And then Mr. Al, he has a book that he's working on called Y'all Hiring, and it's basically a tool for young people, specifically young Black people, on how to navigate like the professional environment. So he talked about like cultural competence and just being able to um, add the value that you already come with to the workplace. He talked a lot about like his experiences and stuff like that growing up. So just like a really rich and fruitful conversation. And he touched on like youth entrepreneurship as well and how this guy could still help young people who have this undying like entrepreneur spirit, like they really want to work for themselves, like how they could still use the idea of like a workspace to help fund and build their own dreams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I got two books that I gotta read. Then I gotta order Mr. West's book, and I gotta read
Why
the
didn't
Young
you just send me
Poets.
your address? I could have put you on the kid list.
I said I
Do what
kind
you
of
want to
mentioned
do.
this. All right, that's fine. We can talk about it later. But it's fine. But we already had this conversation on a success session.
Could have had your book in hand.
Okay, well, anyway, yeah, I could have had it, but I don't. So I just have to get it. But so I have to read that and I have to read the Y'all Hiring too.
Yeah. Make sure you let Mr. West know you HeartSmiles when you order your book.
Nope, I'm not. I'm just gonna say, can you just get it to me? I'm just gonna be like, can I purchase the book? That's it.
That's terrible. All right. What's up, man? How you doing today? What are we doing? What are we talking about today?
I want to talk about code switching today. Because that's what Cam kind of I think recommended last week, the week before. I can't really remember. So we're gonna talk about that. I kind of wish I was on the conversation this morning about anxiety, not necessarily on it, but that I was watching it because that's something that hits home for me. So.
Oh yeah, it was a really deep conversation. And this code switching is really kind of going to tie into some of the stuff that Mr. Al was talking about, because he was talking about like how Black people in particular, like we tend to switch up sometimes when we go like on a workplace. Like some people cut their hair off, some people start talking different. And he said one that I never even really heard of, but I guess it's real. He said people distance themselves from Black people, from other Black people.
Yeah.
Because they see them as inferior. And I'm just like, wow, that's what y'all out here doing?
Yeah, honestly, when we get to like the examples and stuff, can you remind me about that so I can kind of speak on that too? Because that's very important to talk about, and I know he talks about it too, but I'll talk about it from my experience as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna drop these comments from Mr. Al. He already on it.
Oh, the links and stuff.
The links and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. You know what's funny? My Zoom messes up all day. I'm not even lying to you. Like before and like after, my Zoom crashes and messes up and stuff. But during this session, it stays on the whole time. And I'm trying to figure out why that is. I mean, of course, my Wi-Fi might be connected or whatever, but might disconnect. But during this session, it stays like on. Any other meeting, it be crashing. I can't hear all that.
Well, maybe you and Miss Q, y'all need to get together and figure y'all stuff out. Maybe y'all need to share internet. You can give her whatever you got going on because her stuff kept freezing and crashing and all that.
Listen, it is what it is, okay? It is what it is. It ain't changing no time soon, so we just gonna have to work with it, y'all. We have to work
Y'all
with
got the fire PowerPoints now. I'm gonna need y'all little templates. You and Miss Simone. I need Miss Simone's the HeartSmiles one that she had.
Oh yeah, hers is real nice. I be peeping. I peep it. I be like, oh, that's real nice.
Man, I'm gonna have to really step my game up.
Not really. Just keep doing what you're doing. So yeah, here we go, y'all. We're gonna talk about code switching. Cam, you better be in these comments because you told me you was gonna be in the comments saying stuff. So I don't know if she's in class right now, but she should be coming in soon. She's not getting on the session, but she should be in the comments. So yeah, we're gonna talk about code switching, y'all. So what is it, right? The standard definition is the practice of moving back and forth between languages, two languages, or between two dialects of the same language. And it occurs more frequently in conversation than in writing. Hey Cam, welcome. So basically, like, the standard form of code switching is like changing up your language based on probably the situation that you're in, the energy that you may be receiving from another person or other people. And it can also literally refer to you changing a language. So let's say you're bilingual or you speak multiple languages. It can also refer to like when you're speaking English in one particular situation, just an example, and then you switch to Spanish, or you're speaking French and then you switch to I don't know, some other language, to Spanish. So that's like the standard definition. And then I have another definition of it, which is the practice of shifting the languages you use or the way that you express yourself in conversations. That came from an article that I had found. And I just like this definition better, just because it talks about like expression. Because I personally don't believe, and I don't know if this is written down anyway, but I personally don't believe that code switching is just limited to your language. I also think that it can show up in physical ways too. So like ways that you may dress or your body language or things like that. Like I said, I don't know if that's standard. I don't know if I should say that, but that's a personal belief of mine. I think that it shows physically. So yeah, so we're just gonna kind of hop into reasons why code switching happens, talk about a couple of examples, um, and of course, any questions, comments, any stories. Like if you see something that you kind of resonate with that applies to something that you've done, you can drop stories in the comments, of course. And yeah, we're just gonna hop on in. Anything, Ms. Journey, that you want to say before I go into the reasons or examples or anything?
No, I think this is an important conversation. I'm excited about it. Thank you for putting it together.
Awesome. Yeah, you're welcome. All right. So the reasons that I'm going to talk about today are not necessarily all the reasons, but they're just a few of them. So reason number one is adapting to the languages and accents that are heard. So let's say, I feel like this is like, again, kind of more on the standard side, closer to the definition. But let's say that you're in a situation kind of where you do know two different languages. So let's say that you speak a certain language at home or with your family or your friends. And then when you get into the workplace or you get into another place where people don't necessarily know the language, you speak another language. That is an example of code switching. So speaking a different language at home
versus in another situation. That's an example. Another example is also with accents. So I know that this particularly happens with me. I have family that lives in South Carolina, like a small town in South Carolina. My father's side is from, and they have very strong accents, and so every couple of years we, come together. Normally we go down there, and we're only there for like 3 days, right? But we get there on a Friday. By Sunday, I have, and just we have being in Maryland and like, being in this area, we kind of have like a more southern accent than somebody from New York or, one of the northern states would have. But when I go down there Friday, in my like regular voice. That Sunday or that Monday that I come back, I have more of a southern accent. I have more of that dialect that's spoken in that particular place where my family is from. My grandparents, they lived down there, the majority of their life. They moved up here when they started to, build a family. So they have like a mix. So they have, that East Baltimore like in there, but they also have that like South Carolina. So like when you hear my grandparents speak, because I'm used to it, I've grown up with them. I mean, I know exactly what they're saying, but sometimes um when we may have friends that come over or just kind of people outside of the family, it may be harder to kind of pick up what's being said. So um part of it could just be adapting to the language. You might have to learn a new language depending on what situation you're in, and then you can also pick up different accents. Reason number two can be like having outside motives, right? So you basically want something. um Whether that be a job, whether that be, better, whether that be an opportunity, whether that be like you just want somebody to see you in a certain light. You may change the way that you dress, speak, talk, all that because you want something. And people will do the same with you. So they're just trying to, in this particular situation, it's more conscious than it is unconscious. So you know that you're doing it most of the time when you have that outside that motive, versus the unconscious when you don't know that you're doing it. So you just, you switch up certain things, you do certain things in order to get what you want, basically. And yeah, man. Reason number three, you're communicating with people that you know. So you're around your friends or you're around your family members or something like that. Let's say you're in an unfamiliar, no, not even unfamiliar environment. Let's just say you're out, at the movies, or you're out, maybe not at the movies. We ain't out now anyway, but let's say you're just out in a particular situation. And you are with your friends, you're with, but you're also amongst people that you don't know. So you'll talk differently amongst each other and you'll do different things amongst each other with your friends and your family in those particular situations. And then when somebody from the outside in that surrounding environment tries to talk to you or tries to talk to you, tries to talk to one of your friends, you'll immediately switch. This happens more unconsciously, so you don't necessarily know that you're doing it. So all of a sudden I'm laughing, I'm having a whole good time or whatever with my friends. If somebody at the cash register or something talks to me, asks me a question, then I might automatically switch and be like, oh well, thank you. I'm no longer like, I might be screaming or something with my friends, or I might be, just talking in a language that's familiar to us, versus, somebody from the outside comes, I'm just like, oh, okay, well, thank you, and then I turn back around and do whatever screaming stuff I was doing before. So yeah, just communicating amongst people that we know. This kind of goes along with communicating with people that we know, but it also just relates to some of the other reasons. You might just be trying to hide something that you don't want other people to know. So whether that might be, maybe if you have a strong accent, maybe if you know, your first language, or you are not originally from the place that you're currently living in, um, or your parents are not from, or the people that take care of you are not from the place that you currently live in, you might be trying to hide that. So if you do have, you know, even if you are like, you know, not from another country, maybe you're just from another state, and you know, like for example, people from New York, well, people from everywhere have a strong accent, but let's say like people from New York are coming here and they're trying to cover up their particular New York accent in order to fit in, and or in order to relate to the people that live here. So you might just be trying to hide it. You might just be trying to keep a certain secret. That's one of the more explicit examples. But that's something, could be anything. Um, and so you just have to kind of be aware of what you're doing. Um, So yeah, I see in the comments y'all talking about like it usually happens in a job. Yeah, and this term definitely is associated with the workplace, and we're gonna get to that. And Lamar said, so Ken, you and Ken were talking about that, and then Lamar said, yes, I stop when I'm comfortable, but other than that, I'm just mostly professional until there's an understanding. Absolutely. That can definitely, and the you have to kind of separate those things, right? Because everybody is not comfortable with being what professional is. Some people define professional in certain ways. Some people don't even care about the definition of professionalism. And some people have like their own interpretation of what professionalism is. And everybody is not conforming to that particular thing, which is kind of what the next one is. Last kind of reason we're going to talk about for code switching is you're trying to fit into a box. You're trying to fit into some type of form or mold that either you have defined for yourself or that somebody else has defined for you. Sometimes the things that you define for yourself are assumptions. And so you have to kind of be able to break away from, you have to be able to separate what something is and what you perceive something to be. And then the things that people define for you can be outright, they tell you what to do. And again, that kind of ties into that assumption. So let's say you are in the workplace, and there were a number of stories about this, particularly relating to hair. And that's why I say I think code switching happens outside of languages spoken or, you know, words exchanged, because people with like natural hair may feel uncomfortable in, or yeah, people with natural hair may feel uncomfortable in situations where people don't have natural hair, or the people that don't have natural hair will make you feel uncomfortable for wearing your natural hair out. And kind of an example with that, like y'all know I wear hair wraps like all the time, right? And when I had first actually got my job now, and this is from an assumption kind of perspective, when I first got my job as a research assistant, I had my hair out, but then I came to a time where I was just wearing hair wrap like every day. And I wasn't gonna stop doing it, but in the back of my head, I was like, I feel like people are looking at me, or I feel like somebody's gonna come up to me and tell me to take it off. And I actually expressed this to one of my coworkers, and they were like, girl, you're fine. Like, you're fine. You can wear that hair wrap, you're fine. But because I had been listening to the stories that were happening with the natural hair and like the more, the head wraps and just kind of that whole culture, because I was reading all those stories, I was like, people are judging me right now. And the answer, the response to that should have been, Morgan, it don't matter, you still doing your job. But at that particular time, and this was like over a year ago, I was like, oh, I can't wear head wraps all day because people are going to look at me differently, or people are going to think that I act a certain way or whatever. Again, I didn't stop doing it, because at the end of the day, I wear head wraps as a form of expression, but I also wear head wraps because my hair is not done. So if my hair wasn't done, then I was gonna wear a head wrap. And even if it was done and I liked the wrap that I was wearing, I was gonna wear it. So I became comfortable, obviously, with still doing it, but just kind of wanting to remove it because of this reason of trying to fit into a box and trying to fit into a mold, where it wasn't true to who I was. So, oh man, yeah, that was interesting. Definitely interesting. I'll pause because we're about to just talk about a couple of examples. So yeah, Miss Shoni, you have any questions so far? I don't see any questions. Lamar said that's him and his do-rags. Definitely.
Yeah, like that's just like definitely I commend you for being able to get through that. I definitely would like for you to like go like a little deeper into what some people can do to break themselves free, because I think some people are probably still like in that own prison that they've created for themselves, especially when it comes to this type of stuff of like, you know, who you can't be and what you can't do. And it just kind of terrified me a little bit to think that you thought somebody was about to snatch something off of your head. Like, yo, I wish somebody would even get that close to even think that that's okay.
Yeah.
So I would be interested in just hearing you talk, you know, just more about that, or, you know, how somebody can get to that place of finally feeling comfortable and confident with whatever it is that they want to do, whether it's a head wrap or a certain type of, you know, shirt or whatever like that.
Yeah, so I think the number one reason is just like, well, I guess it's a two-part, but like knowing that you're doing what you were asked and hired to do in this particular workplace situation. So knowing that I was doing what I was asked to do and sometimes over what I was asked to do, and then knowing like my worth, right? So this head wrap is not stopping me from doing my tasks. It's not stopping me from talking to people. It's not stopping me from doing anything. It's literally just sitting on my head. It's an expression of myself. It's an expression of my style. And it's not preventing or stopping anything or any productivity from happening. So you have to tell yourself like, okay, what am I worth? You're worth way more than probably what you want to label yourself and what other people want to label you. Your worth is all the way like past a high level. And then you just have to ask yourself, like, is this thing that I'm thinking about and that I want to remove from myself stopping anything? If the answer is no, then don't do it. And so Lamar, kind of with your do-rags, people are gonna give, just like people give me funny looks with this head wrap, and people come up to me and want to touch it, and people come up to me and want to like ask me, and it's okay if you ask me how I do it, but you can know the difference between people that are just trying to like relate to you versus the people that really want to know how you do it, right? So with your do-rags, like people, you're gonna get funny looks, just like I get funny looks with my hair out and with my hair wraps. But you have to know how to overcome that, and you have to know your worth. If it's not stopping nothing, what's the problem? If somebody says something to you, ask them, is this compromising your ability to do your job? If they say no, keep it pushing. I mean, of course, don't give like the attitude that I just gave, but like be gracious, be respectful, but just also know your worth and know what you deserve. And I feel like everything else will kind of fall into place if you do that. That answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. Great insight. Thank you so much.
Yep, no problem. So we're just going to talk about, again, kind of building those examples. So more starting more on like the language side, and then going into more of the concept and the environment side. Karen said, I wish I could wear my bonnet all the time. Get out of here, girl. I mean, in a perfect world, yeah, but I don't know. I guess that's a personal choice. Um, so an example is when you're talking to kids. We code switch all the time, especially when we're talking to babies and like little kids. Um, I know I do it. I always say like, "Oh, I'm not gonna talk to babies, differently or whatever." Once my god kids were born, that was it. When they were little and they were like crying and having the little voices and stuff like that, they're still little, but you get a higher voice. You're talking in simpler terms. You're talking like you never thought. You don't even recognize yourself sometimes how you talking when you're talking to babies. Um, so that's definitely like a surface level kind of example. When we're talking to our parents or your caregivers or your guardians, um, more than likely you don't speak in the same way to your friends and your family members that are the same age as you do to your parents and like their sisters and brothers and grandparents and all of that. More than likely you don't. If you do, congratulations, because that's a very easy life. But I know just being older, definitely when I was like younger too, but being an adult now, I still talk in a different way, speak differently to my parents than I do to my friends or my team members or whatever. I still am in that position. So that's definitely a way that it can happen. And just like so teens, like talking to your friends again, you talk differently talking to adults, and then talking to like older people, so people that are in that age range of like 60, 70, you have a certain level. Well, I'll say I have a certain level of respect for those people. I know that those people have a certain amount of wisdom. um and of course, I mean, it can be older or younger than 60, but I just am more like insightful. Like I'm more asking questions. I'm more just in a like questioning mode and a questioning perspective when I'm talking to older people. And I already know my grandmother's not playing any of that disrespect. So if I even try to come out my mouth, I can be 45 years old. I could be 50 years old. If I even try to come out of the side of my mouth with any kind of attitude, she will slap me on sight. So even though I'm the baby, she will just slap me up. So I'm not trying to catch any of that smoke. Um, so yeah. Um, do I feel like it should be a limit on that though? Um, hmm. On what, Cam? Like on what? On like the code switch? Because I don't know when the question came and what I was talking about at that particular moment. Do you know what she was referring to, Ms. Joni, that particular moment that Cam is referring to?
Oh, about the limit on
Yeah.
that. No, I was responding to Lamar's comment. Yeah, no, I don't know which limit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Camry, just do me a favor. I'm gonna move on to the next one, but definitely just clarify for me in the comments what you meant. Because I want to make sure I hit that. And Miss Joni, definitely they judging you off for that what's on your head, worried about the wrong thing. Absolutely, I agree. All right, so workplace, y'all. Workplace is very very, very interesting when it comes to code switch. Oh, she was talking about how adults talk to children. So originally when I was talking about that, right, I was thinking about I had said briefly, I I wasn't and I didn't plan on talking to babies in a different voice. And that's the reason is because those babies and those kids, excuse me, are gonna grow up and have to talk like older people, are gonna have to be adults. And so I wanted to talk more practically to babies and the kids, because I'm like, if you're gonna learn words, if we're gonna learn sentence structure, if we're gonna learn how to speak, like you literally don't know any words like, when you come out, you don't know nothing. So like I was like, oh well, how are you gonna learn if I'm not speaking to you in like words and like, you know, starting early with the kind of like subject verb agreement and all of that. But again, I told you I kind of crack because I just see like a cute little baby that I love unconditionally, right? And definitely that high voice came in, definitely that that little annoying voice came. But in terms of, you said some adults talk to children like they can't understand things. Yeah, so that's kind of where the limit is. I personally think like parents shouldn't talk to their kids, or older people shouldn't talk to their kids like they don't know anything. Especially when you are like the kids are like, we talk about like 10, 11, 12, like where they can express their own opinions, where they can focus on their where they can express their own ideas and form their own ideas. I think that it should be a more open environment for kids to be able to do that, not in a disrespectful way, but I feel like a lot of older people shut down younger people versus listening to them and listening to what they want and listening to what they need also. A lot of older people just think they know what kids need, but if you actually ask a child or actually ask a younger person what they need, they'll literally tell you. But I feel like that's a good way to like silence kids a lot of times. And teach them not to express their opinions, and I don't think that's a good thing. So that's where I think that limit kind of comes, like, okay, are you actually listening to the kids that you're working with? Are you actually listening to your kids that you birthed? Are you actually listening to the kids that you take care of? And if the answer to those questions are no, then that's where that limit kind of comes. Shalal talk about, so no more goo goo gaga. I'm not saying don't talk to babies like that. I'm just saying for me personally, I said I wasn't, and then I ended up doing it. I don't know if they understand this or not. I don't know enough about child development to know if they understand that better than talking in the normal voice. But yeah. So okay, so back to this. Cam, I hope that answers your question. And if it didn't, you can definitely clarify. Ask follow-up questions. So in the code switching in the workplace. So I have definitely done this numerous times in my current job and in previous jobs. And so definitely like when I first started working, when I first like entered the work force in general, I had a job that was like pretty much relaxed. My first job ever was a camp counselor. Yes, my first job ever was a camp counselor. And so I would come to work every day, sweatpants, shorts. It was summertime, so summer clothes. My boss was really, really, really chill. She was actually more like a mother figure to me. If anything, she was definitely more of a than a boss. Like, of course, she had to tell me certain things to do, and of course, she had to teach me certain things to do. But she was definitely like a mom to me, and I could still hit her up to this day, and she was still like, you know, be welcoming to me and everything. And my coworkers, I had one coworker that was like, and I think at the time I was 16. So I had one coworker that was like mid-20s, kind of late 20s, another coworker that was like early 20s, and another coworker. Oh, and then no, that was it. So I had my mother figure, and then I had the mid-20s and the late 20s, and I was 16. And I've always kind of been okay with like being around older people. So it was chill, it was fine, everything was fine. I didn't feel out of place. I didn't feel like I had to speak in a certain way. I didn't feel like I had to dress in a certain way. We came in, we did our jobs. It was more family oriented. We took care of the kids, we did activities with the kids, and that was it. My next job after that was completely different. So my next job after that, I had and we can't honestly, we can't talk about this conversation without talking about race. And if race relations and race conversations kind of make you uncomfortable, then I don't know what to tell you, because I don't want to tell you to leave, because I don't think you should leave. But I'm just letting you know that the race conversation is coming up. And so my next job after that, I had a white supervisor. Um, I it was She was obviously above me. I was a student and she was a professor. Um, and so I felt like when I walked into her office, I had to speak in a completely different way. Some of it was unconscious, so some of it I just knew I didn't know that I was doing, and some of it I knew that I was doing. Some of it I was like, okay, Morgan, don't go in there and not speak in clear sentences, or not even clear sentences, but not speak how you would with your friends in a the way that you're more comfortable. So I was forcing it bad, right? I'm sitting there very uncomfortable, but I was still doing my work. Luckily she was more, it's like she was on the nicer side. Like, I didn't feel pressure from her to do that, but I felt pressure from my surrounding institution to do that. So not specifically her, but just being in a whiter environment and being in a predominantly white institution, or I went to a college where there were more white people than any other race. um, I felt like I had to act a certain way and do certain things in particular. And honestly, I acquired that job. I got that job because I felt like that's what I needed to do in order to elevate myself, in order to get my degree. Um, so I guess from off the bat, it was probably like not a good time. But I mean, the area interests me. The area of the job interests me, but the particular job, um, eh, it was okay. I'm not gonna say I hated it, because I didn't. I actually loved my supervisor, and I actually loved what I was learning about. But I was just like, hmm. Um, so yeah. Lamar said, I don't like when parents do that. Personally, for me, it just seems like they're dumbing down what they're saying too much. Now, what you say? You in here writing paragraphs. Let me read that. Yeah, definitely. Miss Joni said, yeah, I definitely think us adults should be more transparent when we think y'all won't understand, and just explain it best we can. Then let y'all decide if you understand or not, Kim. I agree. Yeah, and it definitely depends on their motivations too, because some people enter the conversation thinking you're dumb, so that's how they talk. Yeah. And yeah. And people will think you're dumb. So people will think you're dumb and don't think you know things because of your age. And then also, depending on who those people are that enter in the room, they will do it because of your skin color. That's me being transparent. That's me being just kind of, real about the whole situation. They will look at you and look at your age, your skin, where you come from, what you currently are doing. Like, they'll look and micromanage and put a magnifying glass on you, and they'll be like, you know what, they don't know nothing, I can just say whatever. And that's kind of what we actively want to prevent, honestly, because that's really, I've definitely been in situations where I've seen that. And Heartbeats on here right now, y'all have been in a situation where y'all have been in multiple situations where you have actively seen that. So if anybody wants to share kind of that particular situation, you definitely can. Or a particular situation that you're familiar with, you definitely can. But yeah, man, people will label you before you even walk in the room. So you just have to be aware of it, and you have to know what you're confident in. Can't go to a PWI. A PWI isn't bad. You gotta have a good mind to block things out. It's benefits to everything. It's just not for me. That's Kim and Shalal going back and forth. I was very strategic with with where I went to college. I picked a big city on purpose. I knew I wanted to leave. So that was number one. Number one, I was leaving. Number two was I wanted a big city. or sitting on the bigger side. Number three, at first, number one used to be I wanted to go to a HBCU. No, maybe that was like number two. That wasn't number one. Number one was I was leaving. Number two was the HBCU. And I was like, oh, strictly HBCU. Actually, the first college I got into was North Carolina A&T. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna just go. That's it. I don't got to do nothing else. I'm going to North Carolina A&T. That's it. And so the reason I guess that I did not go to an HBCU for my undergrad degree was just I just wanted, I guess, more representative. So I have been around Black people. I am Black. So I am Black. I've been around Black people. My family is Black. Everybody around me is Black, right? And I've had kind of different schooling experiences. So most of my schooling experiences have been Black, but I did have a schooling experience where I was one of probably what you can count on two hands of Black people in my particular grade. And I can't do that no more. But I wanted a more just kind of representative and kind of diverse like place for my particular undergrad experience. Again, that's just a personal choice. It's not right, it's not wrong. It's just a personal choice that I made for me. And my particular PWI, I went to Temple University, if anybody wanted to know that. And my particular PWI wasn't like 80-90% white. It was about 60% white. So it was more like half white and then half whatever. It was a lot of like mix. It wasn't like half white, half Black. It was like half white, Black, just all kinds of ethnicities, nationalities, backgrounds, just all of that. So I was particular about that too, because I did not want 90% white. I did not want it to be in some small town in Alabama where I don't got no cell phone service. And I can't nobody come get me if something pop off. Like I didn't want none of that. I wanted big city where I could expand my network, get more opportunities. And I wanted just representative as far as like people and backgrounds and things like that. But I'm also at a place now in my life where if I decide to pursue graduate education, I want to actually pursue HBCU education. So we're kind of back in that realm. As I figure that out more, I'm more than welcome to talk about it more, but I don't know. So any other questions kind of associated with that, I'll do the best to answer them. Cam said it's benefits to everything. Definitely, it's just not for you. Yep, and that goes back to like that personal choice. You have to kind of know what you want, and know how to kind of pick that. If you're pursuing higher education, know how to pick those schools. We can talk about that if y'all want to. I definitely don't mind doing that. Kind of going through the steps and talking about what schools are best. Hey Jordan, welcome. Don't apologize. You're fine. So yeah, just welcome. And yeah, so workplace, just be aware of the language that you're using, be aware of the tone that you're using, and you have to ask yourself the questions like, am I responding differently because the people around me look different? And for most of it, for me, it was unconscious. But there were like conscious times, like I said, with the head wrap. And I do it just in like rooms with my supervisors and rooms where I may feel a little bit less comfortable. Those are not necessarily the same thing. I'm just saying they're separate situations. So when I'm in rooms with my supervisor and when I'm in rooms where I feel less comfortable, and honestly, I guess a type of code switching for me is getting quiet or getting silent or getting lower in my tone. Now, getting lower in my tone is an indicator of me being comfortable and uncomfortable. So that's also a thing that people kind of have to figure out, but I know the difference. And then example 3 is like using your white voice. So, listen, this a thing. It's a thing. People definitely have white voices, and I'm talking to right now. I'm just talking to people that look like me at times. People definitely have white voices, and that's just kind of a more, again, transparent example. I have white voice. I have white voice when I call the doctor, and when I call people on the phone and I don't know who they are, my voice sounds completely different. And I mean, it sounds like me, but it don't. And just honestly, just what I did. So it sounds like me, but it don't. Some people would choose to say it sounds like me, but it doesn't. And that is just like a little quick, like a little code switch that you can kind of catch. Like things like that happen all the time. And it's happened to me all the time. So white supervisors that I may have had, I am very conscious of how I'm speaking. And then sometimes things that I do are unconscious too. So people definitely have white voices, man. It is what it is. So yeah. I go from I can't with Lamar. He said I go from he said that's me all the way. I go from Lamar to Larry. And then and then Karen said, right. And Jordan said, I have white for all the time unless I'm upset or serious. I have white voice all the time unless I'm upset or serious about something. So yeah, man. And I feel like this kind of like idea, this kind of quote, is definitely like controversial because it can be used as an insult. So if we're in a situation, and let's say I'm just talking to Miss Joni because I can literally see her. So let's say I'm talking to Miss Joni or whatever, and I say to Miss Joni like, "Oh, why are you talking white?" So like that could be an insult to people, especially coming from like one Black person to another Black person. But then if you think that you have a white voice, that might just be your voice. Like so you have to know the difference, right? So you might not be code switching, that just might be your voice. And if that is your voice, then don't characterize it as a white voice. But if you are actively switching from one voice to the other, you might have a white voice, depending on the situation. So just be aware of that. And Jordan, like, I don't even know what that means, and I kind of wish that you were on here, like, because I want to know what you mean by you have white voice all the time, because you just be talking. Is that just
He's
your voice?
educated.
Yeah,
And that's the
yeah.
reason why people be so offended by it, because like, yo, you educated. My nieces and nephews go through the same thing, and I'm like, it's nothing wrong with how you talk. You got that good county education.
And yeah, so that's going back to, that's what I'm saying. Like that's just his voice. Like if that's just your voice, that's what you talk like. It can be used as an insult and it can be offensive. So let me not say I don't know what he means. I know what he means, but I'm just saying like you have to know the difference between your voice, your actual voice, and like what you're switching to. If you're actively switching between one, between 2 or 3 or 4, then you're code switching. So definitely be aware of kind of that kind of thing. Miss Joni, do you have any comments, questions, concerns, examples?
Oh, I mean, well, I was blowing up the comments. I would definitely say for me, I got a little bit of the opposite because of this name that my mother gave me. Like, like it was crazy. So my name actually comes from like 2 places. The first one is because my mother's favorite singer used to be Joni Mitchell. And granted, my mother never listened to Black music. So like growing up, like if the R&B stuff that I learned about, like Anita Baker, Babyface, and all them, that came from like my aunts and them when they used to babysit us. But my mother, no, she had us on some whole other stuff like that soft rock and all that or whatever. But so my name came from Joni Mitchell, and then also her mother, which is my grandmother, her name is Joan. So she just kind of like got the best of both worlds. But when people see my name before they meet me, they automatically think that I'm white or that I'm something other than black. And like, it's just so apparent with some people when I meet them or if they talk to me over the phone that I just bust their little bubble. Like, because they thought that, I was something other than what I am. But I can't really think of a time where I had to like code switch on like a regular basis, although being in the call center, you kind of naturally are acclimated to watching how you speak and making sure that you speak clearly. And a lot of times that can be very different from what you do when you're in a relaxed setting, like with your family, your friends, and stuff like that. So like in my early days of Comcast, because I started at the ground level, the early days was call center work. And that was like the first time where it was very important on how you communicated specifically to people that you didn't know.
Yeah, so that definitely can kind of happen. So I guess I kind of have a similar thing, except for people don't assume on paper with my name, people don't assume that I'm white. They just don't know. Because obviously, like my first name is Morgan, but my last name looks suspect. So people
French.
don't. Yeah, yeah. So some people say French because it does have a French origin. But then like depending on where you're from, so if you're from New Orleans, looking at my name, where there's like Creole influences and more of that like the French like indigenous black kind of vibes, people are looking at okay, so Creole. Are you from New Orleans? Are you from like that bayou kind of area? Are you from France? Are do you have like white family members? Do you have other family members? And people ask me all the time, and I'm just like, it's always a struggle. People look at my name, butcher it, because it definitely doesn't
Only
look
the
like what
last
it.
name.
Yeah, no, my last name, yeah.
All right.
Definitely look at it, definitely butcher it. So I kind of have, I guess, a similar thing. I don't know though how people react when they find out what I look like. I haven't really had like an explicit example of that. But I do know that when people look at my name on paper, because people have said to me, they're like, "Oh, snap! Like, where are you from?" Or, you know,
Did your
do you
peoples
have
do that on purpose? Because I know a lot of parents name their child specifically so they won't get judged on a resume. Like people was like, you can't name your kid Bonquisha. She's never going to get a job.
not
Like,
Bonquisha.
no,
Yeah,
like
no,
for
and
real. And
that's
like people
real.
try to
No,
go to neutral names.
yeah, no. So, me in particular, I asked that very question, because I know people do that. The short response I got was, "Oh, we just like the name." If
Did they
that's
go to
true or not,
Morgan?
no,
Oh.
no. My mom went to Howard, my father went to Towson, but they just like the name. I don't know if they named me that because of I don't know the real reason, but they told me they just liked it, so I'm gonna just go with that. And that's what it is. So yeah, y'all. Real quick, Jordan said, "Yeah, I was just raised that way." Um, oh no, Lamar said, "That's me. People get mad at me and tell me I'm not from Baltimore." Kim said, "We only got a little bit of time." I know, Kim. Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah, it's over. Oops. And Jordan said, "Yeah, I was just raised that way, but I can switch to the black voice." No, but like I talk both ways depending on the situation, and that's not a fitting in thing, but rather it's natural for me. Yeah, and that goes back to that unconscious. Like sometimes we just switch and we don't even know. So yeah, and this whole concept of like black voice, white voice, I put it in this particular situation because I just felt it was like it applied. But there are definitely times where that can be offensive too. So just be aware of that. So yeah, y'all, I think I'm about to
Yeah.
get kicked off. So
For sure. Man, look, this was great. Where's our jewel? We need our jewel.
I have one. Okay. Um, find ways to authentically be yourself. In all times. So that's the jewel. However you want to interpret this code switching situation is up to you, but just know that it happens on the most surface level and on a deeper level as well.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Miss Mo. This was a great, great session. I see you back, but tomorrow, my favorite day, Friday.
Friday. Look at you with the regular people.
I know, I'm with the
Excited
regular
for
people now.
Friday.
Yeah, I'm the TGI people now.
I love y'all. Thank you so much for engaging in conversation, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.
For sure. We see you tomorrow. Thank you. All right, y'all. Another great day of success sessions wrapped up. I appreciate it. So tomorrow I have what I got tomorrow. Let me look at my calendar. This is just
Yitzy.
it's a lot. Yes, I got Yitzy. Got Yitzy on here tomorrow, and he's a city councilman. So he's Baltimore City Council from the 5th District. So, and he's going to be talking about like his journey and his pathway towards city council. And also he's an entrepreneur. He has his own business too. So we're going to get into that. So for y'all who are joining me tonight for Thriving Thursdays, I'll see y'all Thriving Thursdays, 6 o'clock right here. The topic is going to be being an effective public speaker. So I'm giving y'all all my best practices, everything that I do and that I've done in order to be able to be a successful public speaker. So if you're interested in that, that's where you need to come. Cam, I see you on the calendar, baby girl. What more do you want from me? I'm giving y'all my blood every single day. Look, we working on it. I don't know. I gotta get it. I'm gonna post it. But it's been so much to post, so that's why it's like, because we backed up for like a couple of weeks now. So it's like, I don't want to post somebody that's coming like 3 days from now, and I got to post the person that's coming like today. But you're right. We got to get better. No excuses. Something going to happen. I'm going to make something happen on that, but I'm definitely going to post it. So that's it though, y'all. See y'all back 6 o'clock for Thriving Thursdays if y'all coming. And tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Success Sessions. Y'all know what it is. Tell a friend to tell a friend. That's where we at. See y'all.
Bye.